Thank you. If you bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we just ask your blessing on today's meeting, our community, the citizens in our county. We ask for guidance and wisdom from you. We ask that you watch over all the members of our family. We also pray that you will protect and guide all the health workers, doctors, nurses, first responders, law enforcement that are involved in the COVID-19 pandemic. And we just give all of that to you and ask you for a calm spirit in each one of us. We ask this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here. Madam Clerk, would you conduct the roll call, please? Present.
Here.
Present way back here.
Thank you, ma'am. Just wanted to make an opening statement. We are practicing social distancing. I brought my tape measure in this morning. We measured everybody's seat. We have limited access to the boardroom this morning. Anybody that had shown up was welcome to come in and sit in the hallway and practice social distancing and observe the meeting. To my knowledge, we have no one currently here. So we'll start with amendments to the agenda. I had asked gentlemen if we could just take a few minutes and consider if there's stuff in here we don't think is critical to deal with today, then I would say let's have a conversation about that. Yes, sir, go ahead. Jay?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to recommend that, since they're a little more than halfway down construction,
Mm-hmm.
I would like to postpone that indefinitely until such time as they're able to come in here and explain what they'd like to do.
Okay, all right.
We need to do the,
So what I would
wanna
say,
get 'em
let's
all
go
together
through, we'll do
first?
them all at once, yeah. So let's have a conversation and we can have a motion
so
at the end. So KLZR,
how about attainable housing board members? Is that critical?
no, I don't think so.
I know it's necessary.
It wouldn't take long, but
If it doesn't take long, that's good.
I would say,
Sure.
I would say let's just go ahead and do it
Okay,
because it's just a 2-minute.
right, yeah, okay. Won't take long at all.
Suppose amending the board appointments fits that category too, huh?
Yeah, I would do it all at once, probably. I don't care. I'd just as soon probably postpone the letter to the cities of Whitefield
I was
and
gonna bring
Fountain,
that up. That's a good one to
Okay.
postpone.
because that's going to probably require significant discussion.
Discussion of the broadband program, is that something that we can actually talk about now without economic development here?
It wasn't involving anybody particular. It was involving a discussion to have a workshop with everybody in an executive session.
So you want to leave it?
Yeah. And let's see.
And I did tell Sean Bahari that's Bahari, B-E-H-A-R-Y, that we would go ahead and ratify his new board member today. It's just a matter of formality. They've already appointed him, so I'd just soon leave that on there. And then
Ratification of the board members for, what is that, WCC?
That's the library.
that's the library, yeah, that's one I was just talking
Oh,
about.
that's the one you
yeah.
said, Sean.
Mhm.
Okay. I was thinking to ratify, signing a commitment for governor contract, with government contract, what was that?
Yeah, .gov contract. I think we better just leave that on there to get that done. It's just ratifying me signing a letter. We can talk about that when we get there. So that's probably the only two I see, unless you gentlemen have something else. That's probably Alyssa calling in. Can you just, yeah, you can just answer it right there. So the chair would entertain a motion to the effect of amending the agenda. Can you move your mic, please?
Got it on?
You want to try this one? Yeah.
Working?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
sorry. Well,
Would you restate, sir?
I will, sir.
Thanks.
I move that we amend the agenda by postponing the consideration of the KLZR request for adding an antenna to the TV tower on Lookout Mountain, and to postpone the consideration of a letter to the cities of Whitefield and Fountain. Was there any others, sir?
No, I think that's it. I'll second the motion. Thank you for your language. Postpone indefinitely would render these two items not allowable to ever come back on the agenda, so postponing is just the right wording. Thank you. Yeah. It's been moved and seconded to postpone the items of agenda concerning the KLZR request and the letter to the cities of Whitefield and Fountain. Further discussion? I'm assuming we will roll those to the next agenda, or do you want to leave KLZR off until?
I've been dealing with them on this issue. They've had a whole presentation, so my recommendation would be to let's not put it on the next
Okay.
agenda. When they're ready, they'll tell
Okay,
us.
all right. So until they've requested it, we'll leave that off of the agenda.
Right.
Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of amending the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. We will strike those two items. Just a second. Okay, I don't believe we have any minutes to approve. Commissioner items? Commissioner Prince?
Go to any meetings because I physically, because of, I guess it turned out fortunate, and I was in quarantine for 2 weeks because of the presumed positive individual who we learned yesterday, thank goodness, was negative. So I didn't get out a lot. I'd just like to make a comment. I really appreciate our public health nurse for telling me what I needed to do and making me do what I did. It's an abundance of caution is absolutely the correct thing to do, so I just want to compliment her for the work she's doing. I did a lot of stuff, on phone and stuff. The one thing I do want to bring to your attention, although I mentioned to the group, it's Smythe and Taylor, you may know them, local fantastic music group, T.C. Smythe and Gary Taylor. They're a singing duo. T.C. came to me with a proposal about a flatbed truck. She and Mr. Taylor being 6 feet apart on this, being pulled by a tractor driven by Candace McDaniel, and they would like to go serenade in front of Valley Assisted, maybe some of the other areas that they felt were appropriate. I went and checked with the towns and made sure there were no violations, and the answer we got was as long as they're not on CDOT right away, the towns didn't have a problem. She asked for commissioner approval. I told her I really didn't feel it was a commissioner issue, but I did want to bring it to your attention, so if someone says, what is going on here, you're aware of what's happening. And I do commend them and so many others who have on social media will say if you need something picked up, drugs, down the hill, whatever, this community has really come together, and there has been just a tremendous outpour of community spirit. And I try whenever I see it on social media to commend the people, because that's my nature, one, and number too. I really feel that way. So I really don't have anything
Okay.
specific.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's under the commissioner's purview to be
Right.
approving that request. I was thinking automatically that's a municipality thing.
That's what I thought.
Okay,
I just want to
right,
give
okay. Commissioner Kanda?
Yeah, we postponed our last meeting, and we had a quick meeting on the 23rd, and that's the last time we got together publicly. So a lot of things have happened. I got a couple things to talk about. I'm not going to waste a lot of time because I didn't get to sit in any meetings either. We did it remotely. But I would like to welcome Robert Hill as the undersheriff for the county, and we'll make that public announcement here now because he was sworn in on that day, on the 23rd. And I haven't got a chance to bump elbows with him yet.
If
Go
you
ahead.
don't mind me interrupting you, the sheriff was at my store yesterday for quite a while because we're giving out food vouchers. And I do want to make a comment about that if I can come back, Mr. Chairman. But the sheriff, I asked him if he could bring the new undersheriff by just so we can bump elbows and say hello and see if they say he may show up today.
That'd be good.
Thank you. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, that was great.
Sorry, Bill, go ahead.
No
Sorry
problem.
for the interruption.
Then we had a major meeting on the phone with all the southern counties in Action 22. It was a good meeting. I learned a lot. It was interesting to know that all the counties are in the same bucket we are, and we're all doing the same thing. Some of them have a jump on the gun, but I think there's a little more pressure at the state level than we're putting on. For example, Fremont County is doing testing by appointment as long as you've got a doctor's direction. It can be anybody. It doesn't have to be Fremont County citizens. So if we see the need to send somebody down there, we can do that. And we need to keep the heat on getting our test kits. And then the good news, too, I saw this morning was these 5-minute tests are going to be available, and they're putting them out at 100,000 units per day, some big number. So we just got to make sure we lobby and help Alyssa lobby for those tests to get them into the county. Also, I learned they're doing the same things. They're looking for things to save our citizens money to get through this hiatus for 8 months. And then we've discussed waiving the landfill fees. We're going to discuss that later because we're going to get a presentation on our next meeting from Rusty and Brian. Other fees, late fees on taxes are another thing that they're doing. So if they are giving a waiver period of time instead of turning them in when they're due, just like the federal government's doing with the IRS, they're waiving county taxes to make up the difference. We need to probably look at what that impact would be, but I asked Donna to take a look, and we'll see what that we might discuss in another time to move other fees. So we ought to all think about those kinds of things. Sure. Resolutions, they're doing the same kind of things to give more breaks to the citizens. So now let's see. Additionally, talked with the broadband crew, including the mayor, Winky, and others, about getting together, and we'll discuss that later for a strategy session. And I talked to Clint about that. I think, Tom, you did too. So we'll work on that later. And then worked with Alyssa as well, and I want to say the same thing. I'm very proud of Alyssa and Meredith.
Absolutely. Maybe it needs to
I said that out in the hall. So anyway, Meredith and Alyssa are doing a yeoman's work, and it is tough. They're in leadership positions, never before with that much authority or that much going on around us that is life affecting. Lives are saved by doing what we've got to do. So they're standing tall, and I appreciate their work. And that's all for now. We'll catch up on the items we've got.
Can I if you don't mind, may I dovetail?
Go ahead.
Thank you. I spoke to Kathy Garcia a number of times, especially at the beginning, about getting test kits, and she promised me that we will not be left in the dust, that Custer County, once their test kits come into Colorado, we would get our share, and that was a promise from her, so I appreciate her a lot.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that's exactly what I did in that Action 22 meeting. That was Senator Gardner. All that was going to be items that they were taking to lobby with Senator Gardner to help
Exactly.
us at that level. So,
We're on the same page.
Yeah.
Thank you.
so that was a big plus.
Alyssa Lyman-Good is on the phone.
Hello, Alyssa. Hi, guys. I hope you heard the nice words that we have for you.
Okay.
Probably didn't hear that.
Sorry.
Can you hear us, Alyssa?
Okay.
That's okay. Nobody ever does.
We'll work on speaking into the microphones. Kara, can you hear all right?
Yes, I can hear y'all.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, we'll just make a concerted effort to speak into the mics, and hopefully that'll help.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
So we're in the process of giving the commissioner updates. Jay and Bill both gave a report and both thanked the Public Health Department and OEM for the work that you guys have been doing. We appreciate that. You're welcome. So as the other two commissioners indicated, I was involved in several meetings and conference calls as well. I have been quarantined since March 19th. I came out of quarantine yesterday. So certainly have been trying to stay on top of things via email and phone calls. Certainly I have not been getting my information nor making any decisions based on Facebook. I yesterday visited Public Health Department and the EOC and had a conversation about not using Facebook to confront rumors and accusations and anything else as far as county employees go. Certainly we can't direct people to do or not to do something on their personal Facebook pages on their own time, but I just felt like a lot of the stuff that had been surfacing was counterproductive, and had visited with Alyssa a little bit about that, and I think we all agreed that that was just not something that we needed to do. I think their approach is to officially represent our county on the county's Facebook pages as well as the county website. So hopefully we can avoid some of the pitfalls coming with trying to win an argument on Facebook. It's ridiculous. The other thing I wanted to mention, I brought in a booklet that the Emergency Preparedness and Response Grant paid for. Mrs. Flower compiled this document. There are two others. This was the only one that I happened to have at home. I think the others were in her office, so we weren't able to access those. But you're going to see today in the vouchers there's $3,764 expense on the public health side, and that is a pass-through from the EPR grant to pay for this document and some others. So I just brought those in so you can, and those are your copies to keep. You can take those with you. Other than the obvious, I mean, again, I listened to some conference calls from the state, Homeland Security, various conferences to set in and listen to and try to gain some insight and see where we're headed. So I'll keep my report brief as well. Anything else, gentlemen? Okay, thank you. Attorney items?
I finished the employment contract that Sheriff Byerly asked me to prepare, and he said he liked it a lot and he's going to use it. He has an individual he wants to hire, and we'll need to send off for 28 weeks of training, and the employment contract covers that and obligates the employee. It's not, they can't, it's not slavery, the employee can still
Right.
leave, but he's agreeing that he would have to pay back some of the money for that training, because the sheriff says it would cost over $15,000 to pay.
Move your mic up just a little, sir.
Okay, to
A
pay
little
that
closer.
salary, I'm sorry,
There you go.
for the period of time that the employee is going to class and is not actually serving Custer County.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
That's the difference between a normal contract for the sheriff and this one is because of the training or what? I forgot the reason.
If they hire somebody that they don't have to pay to train, I don't think
Right.
they don't have
Yeah.
a formal, it's just an employment at will, but this one,
Right.
just an obligation that the employee
Because-
acknowledges will
I
pay
got it.
back
Right.
if it leaves prior to the end of the 36-month period. So
Yeah.
anyway.
Clint,
Shannon,
may as I understand, it's a new process that the sheriff's department's entering into. They've never really done this before. I think it's in response of continually hiring people, sending them off to training, and then they leave to go along the front range or whatever. So he's really trying to make a concerted effort to basically home grow some employees and keep them here. And
That's a great idea, and the military's been doing that for a long time. They'll train somebody, get 6, and then get a 6-year commitment out of them because you don't want to lose them
Right.
after all that work.
So but Shannon really liked it, and because we can't compete with the salaries elsewhere in the state, and this shouldn't just be a training ground for them, and then they move on to a better paying job. I prepared, at Alyssa's request, I prepared a memorandum of understanding for her. It has nothing to do with what's going on right now, but there's a resident of Custer County who has offered to donate a 2004 Chevrolet Trailblazer to the Public Health Agency, and I prepared an MOU between the county and this individual. I don't think Liz has had time to talk to her yet, but the only thing that we really needed was to plug in a value for the vehicle for tax purposes. So Alyssa has that, and when she has time, I'm sure she'll get back to us on it.
Okay.
I've talked to Alyssa and Meredith both on the phone for various legal issues that have come up during this current coronavirus issue. I prepared a proposed memorandum of understanding between Custer County and the Custer County Economic Development Corporation, which you all have now. I made some revisions yesterday at Bill's recommendation. So and I'm not sure if we're going to be discussing that today or not. It's on the
Yes,
agenda.
we
Okay.
Yeah.
The lawsuit I filed against an individual who had signed a promissory note with planning and zoning for $1,787.20. The case came up last week. He didn't file an answer or otherwise respond, so there's a default judgment entered now. Next step will be to get a certified copy of that from Kay's office and record that, and that becomes a lien on the property, and then I'll communicate with his individual again and explain what is going to happen next if he doesn't come up with the money. I hate to lean on somebody too hard right now. I don't have any idea what his economic situation is, but he had a long time to get this taken care of and never did. And let's see. I think that's all I have to report then.
Okay, thank you, sir. You had sparked something that I needed to remember to do. I'm texting Donna right now. Linder Chevrolet called and said that they needed an insurance certificate for the DHS vehicle, so I'm asking her if she will follow up on that. So give me just a second.
Can I ask you a question, just
Yes.
more curiosity than anything? Once you get a certified copy of the default judgment, you don't file a separate lien paper, or is that?
If you just record it with the county clerk and recorder, automatically becomes a lien on any property that individual owns in Custer County.
Right. Thank
You bet.
Okay. So we'll move on. I don't have a record of any unfinished business, gentlemen.
Nope.
No, sir.
Okay, we'll move on then to new business. Consideration of approving the vouchers and signing the checks.
You want to discuss it first? or-
I'm assuming, well, let's have a motion and we'll
I
have
move we
discussion.
accept the vouchers and sign checks.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the vouchers for the month of March and sign the checks accordingly. Discussion?
I have an item, sir.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. I believe it's on page 24. It's the $7,000 for...
Okay, can you give us just a second to pull that up?
I'm sorry, sure.
Okay, that's fine. I'm scrambling here.
Actually, it says... Not sure what page I'm on.
What email was it? What date? I looked at
The
it.
vouchers.
Yeah. Came from Donna, though, didn't it?
Yes. And I don't know if my, oh yeah, page 24 you said?
Yes, there's a capital outlay for broadband infrastructure plan. Carmel Group, 7,000. I believe it was 24. I may be wrong.
It is page 23 on my document, but nonetheless, I see what are you about to talk capital improvement?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
We had 3 items in there. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, the Carmel Group, that's our second $7,000 payment, I believe.
It is, and I had the same question from Paul Winkie, discussed it with him. They met their milestone for that payment.
Do we have
I
anything?
can read it to you.
Actually, this may be the first payment.
Well, we
No,
gave
we
them the
made one
initial.
before.
Did we do the
we
initial
just-
one?
we
Okay.
got them
Yeah.
started,
So,
so I
So
have the contract if you want me to read it.
the question that I have on this, my understanding was by the time we made our this payment, we would have USDA approval, and I spoke to, this all came from Paul Winkie and his group, brought it to my attention, excuse me. Sorry, I'm fine. Thought I was going to sneeze. And I went back and I looked at my notes, and I thought it said, and I could be wrong, that before the second payment, they would have secured a letter of commitment from the USDA, and before we paid this, I just wanted to make sure that that obligation was
Let me,
done.
I'll have to pull up the contract. Let me find it. It reads, when we went through it and got the signed amount, let me read it.
Okay,
I'll
that's
send
fine.
it. I gotta find it.
yeah, I'm looking at the MOU with them, but I'm not sure that's what you're referring to, Bill.
No, it's the actual contract
Okay.
with Carmel. It's gonna take me a minute to find it. If you got another one, why don't we come back to it while I look for it?
Well, no, I know that the Armstrong Consulting is on the agenda later,
Mhm.
so I'm not going to go there, but I had a question on that too. Other than that, I didn't have any issues with vouchers for this month.
Okay.
A couple unusual ones, like you mentioned, Alyssa and things, but I understand what they are.
Okay. Yeah, I had some questions as well and had reached out to Donna and got satisfactory answers to those. There was an unusually large utility bill to the West Custer County Library. I don't know if you saw that or not, but
I didn't catch that one. What was the story?
apparently we missed billing. They missed getting that bill to us last month, so it's actually 2 months worth of billing.
Didn't notice.
Yeah. Check my notes.
Okay, I'm gonna forward this to you guys so you have it too.
We'll pull up a chair back there, or actually you could probably sit in the back of the room if you want a chair back there. Oh, there's 3 of you. Okay, hold on just a second.
And you're not 6 feet apart.
Um, So
vertically?
I think that was it. I mean, if you gentlemen had other things you wanted to discuss. Commissioner Kanda, anything?
No, I'll read this to you if you want
No, let's hold off on that till we get done with the vouchers.
it. Okay.
You have any other questions on the vouchers?
No.
Okay. Any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in
Except
favor?
for his.
Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would like to not pay the Carmel. I'd like to.
Oh,
Here's
No,
why we have to. Let me read it.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
talked to Paul
And if
about
I'm
this.
wrong, I'm
So-
fine.
And I've got him comfortable too, so
Okay.
he read it.
so what document are you
I
referring to
just sent
there?
it to you. It's the actual contract we signed
Okay.
with Carmel after we had all the meetings we had.
Okay, I
Okay.
just got it. Let me open it. And aim me where you're reading.
I will as soon as I find it.
Yeah, I have it in front of me.
You've already received Bill's email?
Yes, sir.
Oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, I
I'm
have
closer than
not.
you are.
I guess so.
Okay, paragraph 3,
Yep,
and it talks about the owner and manager, that's us and them.
right.
Will agreed on payments of $21,000 each, till it totals up, there's 3 payments. One-time management consulting retainer, $21,000 to commence efforts, that's our first payment. Owner and manager agree on the approval date, this agreement to serve as notice proceed. In addition, the management retainer owner agrees to pay manager a progress payment of $21,000 on the 45th day report of progress delivered to owner with negotiated terms of a letter of intent from CDOT for evaluation use of CDOT rights of way and to remit final payment of $21,000 upon receipt of final fiber broadband infrastructure plans with CDOT's approval of negotiated terms and construction phase with the IGA in the form of CDOT executed letter of intent authorizing the owners to use CDOT rights of way. So what they had to have the letter of intent to use the CDOT rights of way to use to discuss with not only USDA but there's many other grant sources
Right.
they're going after with that monetary amount. And so that way we're not single stringed to USDA disapproval. Now what they've done, they've worked with the state broadband authority, Teresa Ferguson, and have gotten the governor's endorsement as well to use for leverage with the other agencies. So anyway, I think it's legitimate. Paul agreed at the time.
Okay.
And so that was a good question, and I worked at
I appreciate
at
you
length
looking
with them.
into it.
because I didn't have the meetings we had, we discussed different ways to do that.
Right.
And based on your recommendation to get the right-of-way first. If we don't get it, there's no sense proceeding.
Okay.
So the second payment looks to me like to
What number are you on? Same number, 3?
three,
Three,
yes, in
paragraph
addition
3.
to the management retainer, excuse me, which we've done, the owner agrees to pay the manager a progress payment of $21,000. That was this payment upon the 45th day report of progress delivered to the owner with negotiated terms of a letter of intent from CDOT.
Yep.
I haven't seen that.
And we've got it. But that's the point of having the meeting with everybody, Tom, because we've gotten interrupted with all the
Okay?
Ebola.
So you have it, or do they have it?
Yeah, they've got it. I haven't. I'm waiting for that to be sent to us, but they've got it, and we'll just need to send it forward. Matter of fact, let me look. I may have sent it already, but they couldn't go further without it.
I can understand that.
Further discussion?
Okay, I'm satisfied.
Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of approving the vouchers, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Well, by the way, they did extend the deadlines on all of them.
Yeah, I knew that.
Because of the kabuki dance.
Yeah,
So all the grants we got plenty of time to operate now.
I understand.
They were under the gun
Who's they?
Carmel.
Okay. Sheriff Byerly, would you like to come in and distance yourself towards the rear of the room? Oh, okay. Fine. Okay, yeah. Yeah, perfect, thank you.
Come on in, bump an elbow.
So Bill Kanda.
Good morning, sir, how are you?
Welcome.
Kelly Camper is the clerk, and Clint Smith is the county attorney.
Welcome. Thank you. Yeah. Glad to have you.
Congratulations.
How are you, sir?
3 days in a wake up.
Here.
Everybody's out of
Quarantine?
quarantine for the
Yeah,
time being.
yeah.
As of yesterday, tomorrow's another day.
Till the next exposure.
That's right, so, well, welcome aboard, sir, nice to have you. Thanks for coming over this morning, too, appreciate
Really
that.
appreciate it.
Sure.
Nice to
will.
meet you. Thanks for coming. Sheriff,
We'll
thank
talk
you.
to you
Once we
again.
can intermingle with everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Sheriff, appreciate you coming in.
That's awesome. Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you for helping.
Chris, good to see you, my friend, take care.
He's a has-been. That was a joke.
That's right. Okay. Let me send, you want to sign those, Bill, and I'll have Donna come pick those up? Oh, did you? Okay, thank you.
Johnny on the spot.
Next item of business, ratification of signing the disaster emergency declaration. I've got a copy of it here that Commissioner Kanda signed. And so I'm not sure why. Well, I do know why. Originally, I'll pass this over to you, there was to be the principal executive of the BOCC to sign it, but because we were quarantined, they put a signature line on for Bill. So she asked for us to ratify that, and then I would sign it as the principal executive officer. Alyssa, do you have any comments about that?
No, this is just the original declaration that's going to help us get some of the funding. So we have a few things past that, but that's the original one that you have ratified.
Correct. And then where do we well, let's deal with this, and then I have a question for you. I would move that we ratify the action of Commissioner Kanda signing this, and then also for me to sign it as well. It's been moved and seconded to ratify the action of Commissioner Kanda signing the disaster emergency deck. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Do you want me to bring that by the office today, Alyssa?
You know what? You just give it to Kelly because I think it needs to be recorded.
Okay. She probably has the one that Bill signed. Does she need this one? We're checking. Is Bill's signature on the one you have, Kelly?
I don't remember signing one with a letterhead.
Is that the disaster deck? That's weird.
How did he sign that?
How could you have signed
How
it?
could he have signed it?
Well, unless they gave it to me before we went into quarantine, but I think maybe
We didn't.
Meredith brought that over. That's when Bill signed the one we just gave you, yes.
We
Not
were
that one.
on the phone.
At the VSOs when,
Can you pass that up so I can look at it, please?
no, after
Did you
that.
sign something when, before we went into quarantine?
That was my recollection that you had signed.
Yeah, it must have been on
Was
the
this the
Prior,
same
prior to
thing?
the Wetmore meeting, the scheduled Wetmore meeting.
I think that's what you did, is you signed it that night or that afternoon and gave it to me, and I stuck it in my folder here.
Yeah, Alyssa, we've got a copy of the disaster deck on letterhead that I signed prior to the 16th of March.
I think that at the meeting over at the annex is when you were ratifying it. Or should have been.
What's the
No,
process?
that's when we voted to have Bill sign it.
Yeah, because the first one we didn't get signed within a week, so we had to redo it.
Okay, so I'm gonna guess this is the one that needs to go in the round file, because it wasn't ratified.
When do you have to send it forward, Alyssa, to get the money? Now, right? Or was it sent before in order to make the deadline?
No, it's just a part of, it's just all a part of the process.
Alright.
So I'm not sure exactly what that looks like as far as, like, if we have to send it, do we have to send it to somebody? Hey guys, it's Meredith.
Hello, go ahead.
So what will happen is, after this is ratified, I just need a copy of it, and then I can send it up to the state, and then they just need documentation of it.
Yeah, there's no way they'll pay us unless we.
Okay,
So I'll just email you a copy, Meredith?
Yeah, that's perfect.
so we have two copies, actually. The one we just ratified that had Bill's signature on it, and I signed it. And then we have one that I signed early before we went into quarantine.
Right. So that first one that has the letterhead does not count anymore. Because
Okay.
it wasn't ratified within 7 days.
Right, okay, that was,
So the one without letterhead is the one that we're going with then.
yes, yep. Does it need to be on letterhead, or are we okay?
I don't think so.
Okay,
But there's enough showing us such kind of stuff.
all right. We'll have a copy of it. If we have to put it on letterhead, we can adjust that.
Okay.
All right, thank you, appreciate that. Okay, I had just stuck on here consideration of the governor's stay-at-home order, just so we could have a discussion about that. If we needed to today, this was obviously 5 or 6 days ago when this agenda was written, so if we have something we want to discuss, I think now would be an appropriate time. I guess we would maybe start, if that's all right, gentlemen. I'll ask Alyssa for comments about kind of where that's at as of today.
So I'm actually writing an order that will be specific to Custer County. I had it started yesterday, and I've literally been doing case investigations since then until 10:30 last night, so I wasn't able to finish it. But some of the language that I'd like to include in the one for our local, for Custer County, is everything, of course, obviously that the governor said. We can make it as a county stronger, but not less strong. So a couple of things I'd like to add to it is to do curbside only for restaurants. That would hopefully negate some of the issues that we're having with people waiting in the restaurant to get their orders. So it would be no more pickup inside, it would be only curbside delivery.
Okay,
And then a couple other things that I am looking at is just reiterating the social distancing, that there can be no less than 6 feet in between each other, in between people in stores. I'm also looking at doing something with like square footage of stores, how many people can be in there based on the square footage. That's proving to be a little bit more complicated than I originally anticipated, but I feel like we need to do something to make this more consistent. I feel like we're putting restaurants out of business, but we can still be shoulder to shoulder with people in the grocery store, and that just doesn't feel right to me. Not only does it not feel right, but it's not our social distancing, and people are going to get sick because of it. So I'm really looking at, hopefully by the end of today, having something in place for that.
So I had a thought about that, Alyssa, after we discussed it. I wonder if you could do a square footage range from 0 to, pick a number, I'm just using this for an example, 0 to 5,000 square feet is so many people, 5,000 to 10,000, or 5,000 to 15,000 or so many people, and greater than 15,000 would be so many people. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's probably the direction I'm looking at right now, just because, I mean, it needs to be fair, but at the same time, you know, Ace Hardware can fit a heck of a lot more people than Dollar General or the Family Dollar. So,
Right, yeah.
and maintain the 6-foot distance. So today I'm planning on doing that research and figuring out those square footages of the stores and trying to figure out the most fair way to implement something that can just reiterate that we have to have people stay apart from each other.
Melissa,
Yeah.
when you do that, you'll have to subtract the square footage that the shelves take up, or it'll get too many people in there.
Right.
So, or the booth, whatever, in the way.
Yeah, it would be retail space, I think, based on our conversation yesterday, yeah. Yeah, grocery store, of course, has probably 2,000 square feet in the back that is refrigeration and storage space, so,
Ace Hardware's got a bunch of shelves, big aisles.
right. Okay.
So I'll bring that down the pipe when I have it finished up, and I mean, this will be the 4th order from public health so far. So
Okay.
just have to have it recorded, and then implementing and enforcing is a whole other issue. So that's the other thing I have to be careful about when I'm writing these orders, because it's real easy to sit here and write an order, but then you have to think about all the fallout that comes from it and how are we even going to enforce it, et cetera, et cetera. So.
Right, yeah.
Was that order coincided or coincidental with the federal order? Is it good through 30 April? What's the deadline on that?
Yeah, I mean, it can be whatever we make it, but that's my intention, is to make it through the 30th of April.
Okay. Yeah, other questions or comments? Meredith, do you have anything you'd like to add?
No, she doesn't.
Okay. All right. I reached out to Meredith yesterday. I want to say it publicly today. I just really appreciated her last 2 press releases. I thought they were very to the point and concise and clear. I didn't see any room for any misunderstandings about what those press releases were. So I just appreciated both you and Alex's work on those.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, go ahead, Kelly.
So, right now, or the last I knew, we were still planning on opening the county building here to the public on the 13th. Are you still looking at that, or I have concerns about that?
Okay. We had to pick a date, so that's a date we picked based on Governor Polis's press conference. I believe that is a very fluid date. I think that needs to be up for discussion almost on a daily basis. I don't know. Commissioners certainly haven't made a firm decision about that. We took direction from public health, but it's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up. Excuse me. Comments, gentlemen? Go ahead, Kelly.
As far as my office goes, and I don't know, I can't speak for the other offices, but I think we're doing pretty well being able to handle customers over the phone, through the mail, by computer, whatever that we have to do. And I just think that I just feel it's a little too soon to open it
I
to
can
the
tell you
public.
what other counties are doing, because I've looked into it. They're doing the same thing we are, over the, at home remotely as much as they can. But there are some items that they have to do in the courthouse or in the county buildings, not just, I don't mean courthouse. They do that by appointment, and limit that, and then you can control the space and the discussions, and I think that's legitimate if it's necessary.
If I could just dovetail on that, if you've been to the post office lately, they've come up with what I feel is a reasonable approach. They have one door in, and then you exit a different door, and then they have markers on the floor to space out 6 feet. Maybe something to consider in your area.
Yeah, and I thought about that, but have you ever been in my office on a busy day?
Oh, yeah.
But that's why.
And I feel like
That's why you would limit
I'm
it.
short a person right now anyway, and I'm short 2 people, and I can't let two, I mean, we only have so many working, but I feel like I would be controlling people more because people will
understand.
not use common sense
I get it.
with this whole thing. And I feel like I would be spending all my time traffic controlling.
Hurting
It's-
people as
yes,
opposed to doing
yes,
your job. I understand.
yes.
And that's very valid.
Can I chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to ask you for some comments here.
I would feel perfectly good and probably better about keeping the courthouse closed at least through April 30th, with the same rules of essential staff that we're doing right now.
Okay, that was what I was going to ask you, if you had a recommendation. I agree, and I think it would be appropriate for the commissioners to deal with this via a motion today.
Mr. Chairman, before we make a motion, I feel comfortable advocating my power as commissioner in this particular area to our public health nurse and director of emergency management. And I would feel very comfortable empowering them to make that decision on a day-to-day basis. And what I mean by that is if April 30th needs to be extended and we don't have a BOCC meeting to vote on it, then we authorize public health nurse and director of emergency management to make that decision on our behalf, and then we can ratify it at some time later.
I don't. That's putting a lot of burden on their back that they already have. I think still, I've gotten a lot of comments from people doing business. You know, we're putting restaurants out of business. It's hard enough, but there's other businesses that need some county work done. And I'm not talking 10 people come in at once. It's not an open business. They can be one guy, one thing. For example, our real estate guys,
Yeah.
it's all over me.
I've gotten that also, a lot of that.
There's more than just one too, and so that's legitimate. I don't think they can wait in some cases because of the way that the financial world is turning right now. They're opening up loans to deferring payments, trying to make it so that people can have houses, buy houses still. So we got to be careful. We're balancing walking a tightrope, and I don't think it's if you do an appointment only, you can control 1 a day, 2 a day, whoever happens to be here to come in at a certain time. I think it's legitimate, but that would be up to you to work out, in my view. And I like the idea. I mean, it coincides with the president's order too, the 30th of April. Let's see what all happens, but I think we can get by until then. Kelly,
Yeah, some of the things that we are doing right now, we're doing by appointment. And like with the realtors and stuff, we're doing all their recordings and all the loans and all the.
So that's why it's important publicly that people know that. If we hear we're shutting down the courthouse till the 30th, everybody thinks the sky is falling. But it is open for business under these conditions. And then
That's
make sure.
Yeah, Alyssa, do you have a comment on that?
I agree with Bill a little bit. I think that, we need to make sure that people know that they can do their essential business, but I think that Kelly expressed that we can do that without opening to the public.
Right.
So if I could bring it back to where the conversation really started, my thought was, and Bill, really appreciate what you're saying, because I agree with you. I've had a lot of those phone calls too. In fact, in my briefcase, I've got several things that need to get filed. I've just been waiting and telling people, I'm sorry, you know, we're all in this together. I don't think we need to make a special, I don't think we need to do something specifically special just for one group because they're loud and boisterous. Hang on. However, I think your point's really well taken. If they know that things can get done, but they have a procedure they need to follow, I'm fine with that. And the procedure can be set by Kelly. But let me go back to what I originally said, as opposed to opening and closing dates of the courthouse to the public where they just walk in the front door. I'm going to do whatever our emergency folks say, our public health nurse and EOM. So I am not qualified to make these decisions. So because we may not have an opportunity to meet when they need to make a decision, I'm still in favor of empowering them to make that decision for us to ratify at a later date.
Well, and by statute, obviously, public health has the authority to take control over any buildings or any people of the state within her jurisdiction. So if it really came down to it, she's going to tell us what we're going to do anyway. But
opening and closing the courthouse is one that I would like them to tell me. I don't want to tell them.
And Alyssa, I understood you to say that you thought it would be prudent for us to close the courthouse to the public until April the 30th.
Yes.
I agree. I believe I certainly have been involved in phone calls from business owners in the community as well. I believe that we do have the ability for them to conduct business over the telephone, via email. I know that happened yesterday in the assessor's office. So I think we are amenable to letting the essential personnel continue to come to the courthouse as they have been, and I think we can conduct business that way without opening to the public. Here's my concern about by appointment. It puts, I think, an unfair responsibility on people to say, yes, you can have an appointment today, no, you can't. Whether it's a first come, first serve, we find some fair way to do that. I don't know about that. I guess if it was...
I would rather not do that.
Okay.
I think it's best to do an all or none approach at this point.
Okay.
I think it's better just to keep people out completely. Jackie has a really good system. She's got through planning and zoning where people can come up to the window, talk to them at a distance through the window, and then they drop off stuff in a drop-off thing, and then they decontaminate it, and then they deal with it.
Alyssa, I have to do marriage licenses by appointment. I have no choice at this point. But the county clerks are, and something actually may come out today because we're trying to work on being able to do that remotely.
Okay.
And so, and we're getting into the marriage season. And so until we can come up with something remotely, I feel like I have to keep doing that.
Okay. Is there any way we can do those appointments like, I don't know.
You have to have a face-to-face with the people and they sign their...
Well, we have to see their ID and all that. And maybe that's something that we could do through the window also. I really think that the Clerks Association is going to come up with a remote thing here this week, and so it may not even come up again where I have to have one by appointment. We've only had to do one in the last week. So how about if I just play it by ear right now?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Just play it by ear, see how it goes, and then if something comes up and you need to do one, I mean, obviously weather permitting, maybe we can just do it outside.
Okay.
So I have a question. I truly don't know the answer to this. Can we legally suspend issuing marriage licenses?
No, I don't believe so.
No. That's a national thing that's all over the place right
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to suspend it. I mean, it's a great idea, but I hate to keep people from getting married if
Really?
that's their thing, but I
It'll help cut down
I
on
think we can
divorce.
work around it.
So we are finding out the hierarchy of importance during the COVID-19 pandemic, and apparently marriage licenses goes to the top of the list. I'm surprised. Okay? I would move that we continue to close the courthouse to the public until April the 30th and allow essential personnel into the courthouse only, and certainly based on the guideline of no more than 50% of an office staff.
I'll second it.
It's moving and seconded to continue the closure of the courthouse till April 30th, which I was going to mention something, gentlemen. April 30th is a
It's a Saturday.
Thursday. Sorry, am I on the wrong?
No, you're probably right. I don't know why I thought that.
Yeah, April 30th is a Thursday,
you're
so
correct.
I might, by consent, with a friendly amendment, change that to May 4th, which is a Monday.
That it would open back up on May 4th.
Would you agree with that?
Can I ask Alyssa, wasn't it Governor Polis who said April 30th?
Yeah, that was.
No, it was
Point the 30th. Well, actually.
Trump.
That might have been.
I believe President Trump moved his out to the 30th.
Yeah, maybe that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
I think it started with Trump and then Polis was.
Right.
It doesn't matter.
So the only reason I'm amending that, making that proposal is just to get on the calendar as a Monday instead of reopening on a Friday.
I'll accept the amendment.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Further discussion on the amendment, which would
If,
state that
if
we,
it allows still, right now you're doing stuff on a case-by-case need, if it's critical, right? That's what is essential personnel doing in here otherwise? They might as well keep.
well,
their
they're doing
phone.
phone work and
Yeah.
office
Why?
work. JD's in his office looking up stuff.
Doing what for who? Because if they're nobody.
Whoever needs his services.
How do they know?
You need
But we gotta
your,
you gotta make sure it's under, only reason I'm bringing it up is when we say it's closed, is it closed and nobody's gonna be around doing anything? Or is there gonna be telephone, remote stuff?
Bill, I think-
People need to know.
I think your motion covered that.
Yeah.
It said it would close to the public, but open to, I'm sorry, no feedback, but open
Yeah.
to
Essential
half
personnel.
essential personnel. I
To
think
do
that was covered.
public business.
Yes.
Oh, no, this
They're
is,
they're not in here just cleaning the office. They're here doing some public work, apparently, or they might as well stay home. So how do they get the business? Somebody has to know they can call. I've had complaints, they've dialed every number that we had posted and nobody answered the phone.
I understand that.
and they're not, my phone has a message on it that says, if nobody answers, leave a message, we'll call you back. And they have been doing that. Now, they have been inundated, totally inundated.
Right.
Peggy has not been able to do any
I'm
of her
sure.
work because she's just been answering the phone.
Right.
And I expect that that's how it's gonna be. It's,
Or we get Vern to come up with a way of putting messages somewhere, I don't know, rather than, somebody has to orderly get to it. Maybe that's somebody answering messages for Peggy or somebody else. I mean, what's essential personnel if we're gonna keep it business going?
Beyond the scope of the motion.
Well, it is kind
It's a
of,
great
but,
discussion, but I'm not sure it's part of the motion.
yeah, I mean, I spoke with JD yesterday. Somebody called me raising hell because they called his office and didn't get an answer. I talked to JD via his cell phone, and he said, typically when I'm on the phone helping a customer, my phone will ring 4 or 5 times during that conversation.
Yeah.
He said, I can't answer them all.
Right.
He also made a trip to the post office, so his phone rang while he was out going to the post office to get the county mail. So it's going to happen. We can't babysit everybody.
No.
We're saying the intent of the motion is we're going to have essential personnel in here to conduct county business on a limited basis. If the public can't understand that, then they can go to another county and deal with their
Okay.
Open
business.
to the public via phone call and then further discussion.
and I think what we need to do is put a press release out there saying, this is, you just need to call each individual office and this is what we're doing.
And that's my point. It is relevant to this motion to either let the public do limited business or not at all. And what And as long as there's a process and we know that they're gonna handle it by a public announcement, press release, and maybe we do set up a special where all the phones are dumped into one bank so people can do their business, and somebody else is answering the message, taking the message, writing the numbers down and getting it to the right office, helping answer the phone. It can be remote answering the phone.
Just kind of
Doesn't have to be
thought.
in the courthouse.
Bill, I think your point's
County building.
really well taken. People need to know that we're continuing business. It's just going to be not as easy as it
That's
has
right.
been. But let me just suggest this. We're very close. I think it may even be next on the agenda to talk about the public information officer and enhancing IT. Maybe we can work out a system where it funnels to one person who then distributes it. I don't know, just a
Well, that would
thought.
be something that whoever in the building here, somebody take the lead on working with Vern to figure out how it might be a more streamlined way to not interrupt people doing their job, like Peggy,
Okay.
and have the phones dumped into a bank. Somebody will get an answer, listen to it.
I have a question for you, both commissioners. Did you guys read Meredith's second press release yesterday?
Yes.
I did.
Okay. Then obviously you know that she put out to the community every phone number
Right.
with the office that they can
Correct.
call.
Right.
Right. Now, we need to get that in the press. That's the problem.
That went to, correct me if I'm wrong, Public Health and OEM. I believe your byline said it went to the county website and to all of the newspapers and to Facebook, county Facebook pages. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. They went to all media, even the radio.
Thank you. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of closing the courthouse to the public until April 30th, with the exception of essential personnel, no more than 50% to conduct county business via phone or otherwise, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Courthouse will remain closed to the public until April the 30th.
April 30th or May 4th?
Oh, I'm sorry, May 4th was, you had agreed to
I
that
agreed
friendly
to the
amendment.
amendment.
Thank you, Kelly. Yeah, till May 4th, Monday, May 4th.
So Kelly, I'd appreciate if you would work with Vern and see what limited staff can do, be more efficient answering the phone. Maybe there's a process. Otherwise, let's not do it at all.
Well, we're gonna do
trying
it.
to-
We
yeah.
just voted to do it,
No, I'm
so.
not saying
he's
that.
talking
I'm
about
just saying then I'll
public
come back at the
conducting
next meeting.
business.
Right, that's right. That's
No,
all.
I'm with you.
And we kind of have to answer the phone ourselves because that's the business that we're
Right.
doing. And I feel that it's important for, at least in my office, to keep that business going because it's keeping that money coming in that's gonna go out to the schools and the fire department and all the entities and us.
We'll move on. Next item of business. Kara, can you hear okay?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. Consideration of moving IT GIS assistant to full-time. Chair would entertain a motion to that effect.
I move we, let's see, by moving ITG, the assistant to full-time, yeah, I agree, let's move that the ITGIS assistant be offered a full-time position.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded to move the IT GIS assistant position from part-time to full-time. Discussion? Go ahead, sir.
Thank you. Looking at the job description and duties, my first question was, is this really a full-time job or not? It probably will be, but I'm just seeing, it doesn't really look like a full-time job. Second question I really have is there going to be a salary adjustment considering the person is the position is part-time now and will go to a full-time position?
Yes, I spoke with Donna about that.
To include benefits, right?
Go
Yeah, I
through,
understand.
it'll go through general fund human resources.
So the salary will remain equivalent to the annual salary based upon the half-time?
Correct.
Double.
It'll go to full-time?
At the same rate, yes.
All right. And this is going to come out of IT and GIS budget, or is this coming out of?
Coming out of general fund initially, if we have to do a, wish Donna was here. If we have to do an amendment to the budget later on, we can do that.
She calls it a supplement. Is that
Yeah,
right?
supplemental budget, thank you. Could not think of that word.
Okay, that's my question.
Okay. Yeah, I think there is, without a doubt right now, certainly there is enough work for that to be justified full-time, and I think there is. This whole proposition came on before the COVID-19 really hit us. All the entities believed that this, if we were going to include the PIO into this, that it needed to be a full-time job. And I just want to say thanks to Meredith and Vern and Alyssa for working on this job description. I'm not sure Alyssa was involved day to day on it, but I thought they did a good job of writing this job description, and hopefully we can move forward. Further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of moving IT GIS from part-time to full-time, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you again, folks, for your work on that.
Is that effective immediately?
Yes. Next item of business, consideration of moving the Office of Emergency Management into the Public Health Agency. What's the group's pleasure? I would move that we authorize moving the Office of Emergency Management into Public Health. Is there a second?
I'll second it for discussion.
Been moved and seconded to authorize moving Office of Emergency Management into the Public Health Agency. Discussion.
Okay, it's in the SAR building now, right?
Correct, upstairs.
And that's where it's lived all its life, is that right?
As far as I know, yes.
And I saw a letter from the former OEM coming up. Do you guys receive that
I
letter
read
too? I understood the reason to do that. It made sense because they're even though they're similar, they have different lines of authority. OEM does not work for public health, and public health doesn't work for OEM. So it's just, you know, to keep it clean, it probably, I don't know what would be the reason to do this exactly. Who came up with the idea to consolidate them?
Yeah, I certainly have my opinions on that, but I'll defer. Alyssa, if you guys want to speak to that, I would be interested in hearing Meredith's take on the use of that room upstairs if she was not in it.
So, the reasoning behind moving is, I know Search and Rescue needs more space. They're always cramped in their office during a mission, and so it makes more sense for them to have the building. In the past, it has been kind of I don't know the right wording on the correct way to say this, but that OEM's been too included in search and rescue, and I don't want that to be shown. Another thing of moving over to the public health building, I want to make sure everyone knows that it is just office space. Our departments are still going to interact as they have always. However, it does allow coordination to be better. In all hazard events, public health is one of the first people that we have in our EOC. So it makes sense to be very close together and coordinating. And in general, having one person in the search and rescue building for electric, for heat, all that, to me it doesn't make sense. Just to have one person here the whole time. And so it would be a money saver in that as well.
what about the use of the room upstairs during an emergency?
Yeah, so I would just keep it for search and rescue. Search and rescue needs that space. It's their building for their use, and so they definitely need that extra space. The salamander IDs that have credential everyone would still stay up there. That because sheriff's office uses that not only for personnel but also for concealed carry permit or IDs, credentials for that. So it makes sense for that to stay here. But everything else would just be moved over there, but definitely keep it for search and rescue.
And can you talk about family use of that room as well?
What room?
Your current office upstairs. My understanding was search and rescue often has a need to be able to separate a family.
Yes, you're right, sorry. So another use during a mission is that when a family member is here for the person that they're searching for, they usually put that person upstairs to have them around, but still not around all the instant information. And so they use that space anyway for that purpose.
Okay, thank you.
So Meredith, what do you do today in an emergency, and the SAR mission's out there doing something? Where are you normally? In that office, or are you in
I'm still in my office, so that's another thing. So if I'm upstairs and they have a family member, they're still going to place them upstairs or find another location. It makes more sense for that family member to be upstairs, and then especially without me being up there.
So during an emergency, where do you have your emergency operations center? Yeah, how does that determine?
Okay, so in the past, all of it, except for the current incident, our TOCs have been at the firehouse. For floods, for fires, for whatever, tornado, whatever that would be. So it would be at the firehouse per our verbal agreement with those incidents.
Yeah, thanks, Meredith.
Further discussion? Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you. I've been to Alyssa's offices, and it's laid out very
Jay, we
nice.
can barely hear you.
I apologize. Is that better?
Yes.
Okay.
You, Jay?
Thank you. Let me turn a little bit away. I'll speak up. I've been to your offices, Alyssa. I mean, I'm sure you've thought this through, but where in the world will OEM have an office in there? I mean, you seem awful cramped at the moment.
Isn't it funny how we thought originally we had like the Taj Mahal and now we're cramped already? No, but we have looked at that, and then we'll have Meredith set up where we have our conference area. Two reasons why that works well. First of all, she still has her own space, and I think it's important that because we're both department heads that we have our own space that we can have difficult conversations and things like that when the need arises. But we can have her permanently set up in the conference room, and then we really use that conference room about 2 or 3 times a month. One time is to do CPR classes, and then the other time is when we have a couple of different meetings. And so during that time, we can actually have her set up. We can set up another little space in the corner of my office. Unfortunately, the giant tree is going to have to go, but. But so then if we need to use that conference space, then we can put Meredith in my office. And that's the nice thing about Meredith is she's pretty mobile, so she can work wherever. And then as far as like that giant wall that's in that room, that right now there, we'd like to put dry erase boards up there so that we can all use them. And then if there's ever any sensitive information on that, of course we can cover it before the public can be in there.
Okay.
And that's another great thing about that room. It can be a scaled UFC, so we need to move to another location. So we can't all be 6 feet apart. Yeah.
Right, but if you had some other emergency that didn't involve social distancing, that would function as it did this, in this event, right, so.
Okay, I got a quick one here too. I
Go
see
ahead.
Jay's concern here, and I have the same. You know, poor Meredith, she's well,
not a no man.
wayward and out of the
No man.
office. We gotta find a room for her, which I agree, and I'd hate to move her 3 times before we get settled on something. What other rooms did you look at, consider? Is there other ways of finding an office in the fire station that,
So, a main reason of going over to public health is because that coordination. My experience with Liverpool, public health experience with Liverpool, not all the same, but many are. And so, with that change in that, we're not going to be duplicating efforts. We're going to be able to coordinate and work well, and then our basically efficiency of our jobs are going to increase having that co-location.
Okay.
I don't know, I'm concerned still, because why didn't we do it sooner then?
That's a great question.
Why in the world has it taken 20 years to decide to get together?
I guess
Can I
probably
ask-
mostly because public health used to be in 2 little tiny offices.
Exactly.
Closets.
Yeah, it wasn't an option before you moved over there, so. Yeah, I guess I don't share the concern here. If that's what you two want, it's far beyond me to try to tell you that that's not a good
We're
idea.
just having a discussion, we're not telling anybody.
So,
Glenn's got a question.
I just had one legal question. We have a lease agreement with Search and Rescue to use that space that Meredith's in now. Is it, if this motion passes, would it be the intent that we would still keep that space pursuant to our lease agreement?
well, at least, I think for our card printing and work, but Meredith, I would defer to you.
Sorry, this is the first time I heard about the lease agreement for that space.
It's a 20-year lease. I think we pay $1 a year to Search and Rescue, something like that.
Just an agreement.
The county owns that building, correct?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, we do have a lease, and every January or December, we pay $1.
I am actually not sure if we
Yeah,
own it or
I-
Search and Rescue owns it.
I think they own it, that's why, at least when we were working the Justice Center, where the ground belonged to who, that was separate. I don't know why.
I think that maybe the county owns the ground, but the building may belong to Search
Yeah.
and Rescue. Anyway, I'm just bringing it out. There is a lease agreement there, and
So run by again, how are you going to, the Joe Public comes in, wants to see the OEM person. Got to walk through the public health office first.
So actually, this is slightly better for that. No one really knows where my office is. I don't have a sign out saying emergency management, Custer emergency management. And so that's an option in this building, moving to the public health building. And so, I mean, really the public access would be more, it's a lot better in the public health building rather than the search and rescue building.
I like the idea of moving. I like you having a better space and all that, but I don't like you in a tight quarters with OEM, with public health. I think maybe other options could be considered. We could even co-locate you both together in a new building or a different building. I think we're reacting because we're in a different crisis right now, which is working together.
So let me speak to that. First of all, we have actually started talking about this before COVID hit, because our deliverables are so much alike that we literally spend half our day driving back and forth or on the phone with each other, where it'd be so much nicer just to be able to say, hey, what are you doing with this one? I'm perfectly open to if we need to move to a different location down the line that's big enough, that's bigger for all of us. But I mean, I don't think that Meredith
Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. While this conversation is going on, I got a couple of little text messages on my Dick Tracy phone. It's amazing what it can do.
We can't hear you again.
I apologize. I was saying, during the discussion this morning, I got a few messages sent to me about at least one person who really would be advocating that this person would like to speak to this issue during public comment. And I think that's appropriate if we have a constituent that feels that public comment is needed. I would like not to do this behind the public's back, so at a minimum, I would like to postpone this.
If you feel so, a motion would be in order.
Is there not one on the floor?
There is a motion to postpone. There is a motion on the table to approve the
Yeah.
moving of this office. If your desire is to postpone this item, a motion would need to be in that effect.
Okay,
I'll move, we postpone it.
I'll second it.
Would the maker of the motion care to set a time frame on the postponement?
We need time to get the public in here. That's going to be hard in this next two meetings.
Why is it up to the public?
It was going to be my
Because
question.
it's an open meeting.
I don't,
We need to hear comment. Why do we have it in the first place? And in order to make a decision, we need to understand the issue. We're basing it on good recommendations. I'm not disputing you and Melissa's work that you've done to make a case. But there are other views that you use in making a decision. I haven't seen any other options
Are
except.
those views going to be, I mean, it
I don't
really
know.
doesn't affect, in my opinion, this bullet, in my opinion, it doesn't affect the people of the public any more than making it more accessible to them. And if people have a rebuttal about it, I mean, I guess that's fine, but at the same time, it's not them working in this space, it's not them having to work together. And, I mean, it really affects Meredith and I and our work, so why does the public have an input in that?
yeah, I happen to agree. I don't know that this is a public-oriented thing, but, and the other thing, and thanks to the attorney, public comment is not a right given to the citizens of this county. It's a privilege that we extend. We are not obligated under law to provide anybody the opportunity to have public comment. We do that out of quote-unquote the goodness of our heart and to try to make the citizens feel involved in this. I get that. I understand that. I don't know that this is a quote-unquote public issue, but if there's a motion to postpone, then we'll consider that as well. Go ahead, sir.
One more thing.
Yes.
I agree, I think the public should be able to voice their opinion, and I think, you know, that's fine. Can we possibly set, like, you can have if you have an input, you need to email it to whoever BOCC by the end of tomorrow or whatever, and then make a decision based on that afterwards. I don't know, as long as we're in the EOC right now, we're obviously working together, and it's not really that big of a deal, but we will be stepping the DOC down, you know, as things progress one way or another, and so that's when we will need to know if we can be in the same office or not.
Well, you make a good point. Is that Alyssa?
Yeah, Alyssa.
Yeah, you made a very good point. There isn't a rush, really, because we can decide to keep you guys together for as long as it takes to get a new building if we wanted to. You know, it's doing the right thing that matters in the long run, and doing it efficiently is what we do. And also, you know, we have sunshine laws. We can't do a lot of things, and that is the public's right to know and hear, and they make adjustments if we appear to need it. But anyway, you know, I think it's, you know, this has sort of come up out of the blue. Not out of the blue. That's how all business comes before us. We make motions, we consider issues, and this is part of the process.
Well, if I can comment, I may.
Go ahead.
The individual who has suggested they'd like to make public comment certainly did make a comment to the three of us because we got the email and we all read it. I thought there were some valid points in there. However, I'm almost not even understanding why this is coming before us and we're going to spend 20 minutes discussing this. Two employees want to move offices for efficiency. I mean, I'm kind of at a loss as to why we even need to make this decision. Say if you feel it's appropriate, go for it. You two directors of your areas, if you feel it's appropriate, you know, I'm having a hard time really with this thing.
Kind of tend to agree in that unless it involves a lot of money or some reason that we have to make a decision, Kelly can move her office anywhere she wants.
I guess that's why I said, why is it up to the public? Because that was my thinking in my brain before that.
Well,
It's actually going to cost the county less money.
well, that's all good, Alyssa. The point that I'm trying to make is you need to do your job, Meredith needs to do hers. And separate lines of authority, and yes, you work together and things come together. What's the best place for you guys to do that and how you do it? You guys can come up with ideas and do that. But I'll tell you, if Joe Blow wants to walk in and see Meredith and has to go through seeing Alyssa give a shot or whatever you're going to do, it's just not the right thing in my mind to make it convenient for the public to come in and do business.
Go ahead, Jay.
Thank you. You know, the public has responded to this, the only person we have. I've read it. Did you make the motion to postpone it, did I?
Nobody.
Nope.
I made a motion to postpone.
And I seconded it.
Well, we were trying to get a determination of how long you wanted to postpone it, sorry. So, Chair hasn't restated the motion yet, so no, it is not.
Withdraw it. Let's vote on this and move on.
May I insert one more thing?
Go ahead,
here?
sir.
Kelly got me a copy of the lease agreement, and in December of 2015, this agreement, actually it's determined the county owns the building and the land, and we are leasing it to search and rescue through 2030 with the condition that OEM can have an office there. So that's the legal status. They pay us $1 a year.
No.
Yeah, I'm good with pulling this whole thing and letting that, if the public outcry comes up, then we're going to move it again if there's an issue.
So do you want to withdraw your motion?
Yeah, I'll withdraw.
You're withdrawing your motion to postpone?
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion to postpone has been withdrawn. Further debate on the motion to authorize OEM moving to public health.
We decided we needed to follow through with
I do personally.
it. We authorize it, I mean, why? I don't care.
Hearing no further discussion, all in favor of authorizing OEM to move to public health, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate that.
Keep us up to date on how it works.
May I ask a
Well,
question?
thank you so much.
Yeah.
Just-
Go ahead, Jay.
This is just really a question. Would we leave OEM office, desk, and whatever at search and rescue, and you'd have a different one at the medical center, at the public health office, or how are we going to handle phones and desks and file cabinets and whatever else?
Yeah, so like all of my files and all of that, there's things that we already looked at all of the kind of layout and logistics of it all. And so there's space. I will have all my things that I need over there. And then really the only thing that's going to stay in a search and rescue building is the Salamander credentialing system because sheriff's office uses it and comes over for it, and then it's a little bit more centralized than bringing it over.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, the assumption is you'll still be able to access that to do your salamander work yourself, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you, ladies. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Okay,
Thank you.
yep. Are you going to stay on, Alyssa, or are you good?
Do we have other items for me?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, I'm gonna get off the mic and continue doing the investigation.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Next item of business is approval of attainable housing board members. If you would pull up your board appointment that was in the board packet.
By the way, you did a great job compiling our board packet. Thank you. Not
You're
to
welcome. I
slight
appreciate
Kara
it.
at all.
No,
You did a nice
I
job. Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Thank you. Yeah, so,
Thank you, sir. Let me get to it.
yeah, I'm pulling mine up as well.
There it is.
Charles Bogle asked for this to be put on the agenda for us to approve the appointments for the attainable housing, which is on the second to the last page. And I believe Ed Stefanich was the only
That is.
new person, correct?
That is correct. He's
Yeah.
replacing Mike Carter,
Yes.
who'll be leaving on Friday.
Yeah.
And Ed is the replacement from Custer County. He'll be head of streets and works, and he's the town man, they call him.
So I would move to approve Ed Stefanich as a member on the Attainable Housing Board for a one-year term expiring January of '21.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded to approve Ed Stefanich. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Can you spell it?
Stefanich.
Thank you.
Discussion. You know what, I would also move that we amend the board appointment document appropriately for attainable housing. We'll just do them both in one
Sure.
motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Oh, you did second it, sorry. It's been moved and seconded to approve Ed Stefanich and amend the board appointment document. Discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed nay. Motion carries. You may hold on to that document, gentlemen, because I believe, well, we'll deal with it later, sorry. Yeah.
He's under,
I added him as a on the draft.
On the big,
Are you on attainable housing?
I'm on the board appointments.
Okay,
are
no,
you looking at the one that was?
scroll down to the next to the last page.
Oh, on this guy.
Yeah. Attainable housing is second to the last. Okay?
Get in there.
Yep. Okay, thank you. Next item of business, ratify signing the letter of commitment for the .gov contract. This was a request by our IT director. I had forwarded or included a copy of that letter in the board packet. He asked me to sign that several weeks ago so that we could actually get this whole thing moving. I did that. I'm asking for
I
ratification.
move we ratify, sign the letter of commitment for the .gov contract.
Thank you. I'll second it. It's been moved and seconded to ratify the signing of the contract dated March 5th, 2020. Discussion. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question. When I read the letter, I thought, I love this idea. It's time we're a .gov, not a .com. So I think I applaud the efforts of IT for taking this on. But my question would be, when I looked at other counties, I did not even, and there may be out there, I may not have looked the right ones, with a dash CO.
Right.
Was Custer County Co.gov without the dash? Was that not available?
Was not, and I had that very conversation with Vernon. I said, man, I'm struggling with this dash. Can we
Me
just
too.
get rid of that? He said, believe me, I tried. It's not available.
There are a lot of Custer counties in the United States.
Yeah, I understand that. I know that.
This was the next best thing he could come up with, was including that dash.
I get it, and I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I struggled too. And the thing I failed to mention early on, gentlemen, to you, and I apologize, was the fact that this does incur a $400 domain fee annually, and I did not bring that to your attention. I assumed you read the letter, but I did not bring that up. So Vernon believes this is definitely the way to go for the long haul. And I've had a couple of communications between VeriSign Inc. and have forwarded them on to Vernon, and he's kind of been dealing with that, so.
Did you say that was a yearly $400?
Annual, yep, yep. Domain fee. Yes, sir.
The point of contact, we have you as the chair. Is that because it has to be that way? Because it would make more sense to me if Vern was, unless the regulation says it has to be the chair.
Yeah, it had to go through the chair of the county for this document. Once this is done, then it's a formality.
Okay.
It just means it's a board action.
Yeah, I understand the chair signing it, but it just said the point of contact
Right.
was
Yeah.
the chairman, and I'm thinking,
Oh.
you don't want to
Yeah.
deal with that on a day-to-day
Yeah,
basis.
once we've been given the URL, then it will be Vern, yeah.
Okay, I'm fine.
He was not authorized to be the point of contact to sign this. That's what that was all about.
Got it.
At least that's how he explained it to me. Whoops, there we go. Okay, further discussion? Hearing none, we'll proceed to vote. All in favor of ratifying the signing of the .gov contract, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Commissioner Kanda?
I am sorry.
It's okay. Opposed, nay. Motion carries. That letter has been ratified. Did you get a copy of that, Kelly, or do you need one?
I do need
Okay, let me send that to you right now. Give me just a second, gentlemen. I mean, my office at home is very organized once I push the dishes out of the way, but it's better if I do it right now.
I got to push my cat out of the way. He likes to sit on me. So, just a question maybe nobody knows. How come the letterhead says 1877, but then next to it it says that the county was, no, it's the other way around. Let me pull it back up. But it says 1877 and 1891. I believe the county was organized in 1891. Why do we have 1877?
Territory.
Well, it was cut off from Fremont County originally. It was part of Fremont County. I don't know if that had anything to do with it.
I'm just looking at the letterhead, and it has 2 dates. I'm looking up there, it says 1891. And if you look at the letter, it had, on the very top of the logo, it says 1877, and I don't know where that comes from. It's just a...
I didn't see.
They had to have the county.
You said you looked up where?
If you look at,
Yeah, I got this.
And
Oh,
that-
that's West Cliff.
not- Yeah, that's
That's
not right.
West Cliff?
That's
Mhm.
not, yeah.
Never
Yeah.
mind. I was
Yeah.
just curious.
Yeah.
While you were
Certainly.
emailing, I had a
77
question.
from the county.
Because that had bothered me for a long time, why it says 1891, when I know we were formed in 1877. I mean, Clint could tell us, he was there.
Well, yeah. Did you vote on that, Clint?
Yeah, just because I got a birthday coming up, yeah.
Boy, that was harsh, Jay. Okay, moving on. Discussion of the broadband programs.
Yeah, this is just a discussion real quick. I talked with the mayors, talked to Carmel. We need a status report, and we need they have a strategy, an acquisition strategy that we have to go through. And I'd like to do it in an executive session because of that. Clint can help me explain the necessity of doing that. Go ahead.
Well, we have discussed this, and the Colorado Sunshine Law does permit executive session for the purpose of developing, discussing strategies, and this would fall in that category. And it,
Kara. Left eye.
it would be the mayors of the two towns, the Board of County Commissioners, and representatives from the Carmel group to discuss this. There wouldn't be any decision-making made. They just would present what their proposals are, how they want to go forward on this.
The reason is it would involve, first of all, there's several issues that have come to a head. We have two programs that need to dovetail, and we have to discuss how we would go about doing that. The proprietary nature
The six-town project,
and the fiber project.
I just want to make sure I was with you.
And from a state point of view, they want to see us use taxpayer dollars most efficiently. All right.
Good plan.
And so we have to strategize. And when we talk about locating towers or rights-of-ways for fiber, that involves land. It involves people having some inside knowledge that said, if we're going to put a tower there, I'll go buy that piece of ground possibly, and I'll make a buck on it. Or, you know, those kinds of things can happen. So it's basically an information workshop that we will use, and then when we get rolling down the path of integrating these two programs, then we would put out RFPs for the engineering, the studies that have to be done to do whatever that means in the future.
So could you explain to me why this would not be in an open session, why the public would not have access to this?
It will, and when we get, just like they wouldn't on, we put out requests for bid on lots of things. There's going to be RFPs involved to perform the engineering. It depends on the strategy that we're discussing. All acquisition programs have proprietary discussions before.
I see what you're saying. When we set the requirements, we don't
Right.
want
Yeah,
company.
absolutely. That's right.
Okay, fine. I just wasn't sure why we were excluding the public, but that makes perfectly good sense if we're talking about
Of
contracts.
course, when the program gets instated, we actually start executing grants.
Right.
Both programs are going to have common goals
Right.
that we have to mesh together. Those will be open to everybody as we start going down the path.
All right.
And we'll discuss more about that in the MOU discussion.
I'm going to dovetail on this conversation to somewhere else if I may, and if I'm out of line, Mr. Chairman, just throw something at me.
Okay.
This seems like the kind of meeting that would lend itself to use a program such as Zoom or freeconferencecall.com so that we could have this meeting without bringing them in, not worry about the 6 feet. I could wear my jammies. Those kind
We
of
can
things.
talk about that
Yeah.
when we start setting up, but my view is the town hall, for example, is big enough, or we can find a room big enough. Sitting here, I think it's important to be able to interact with each person. And we're only talking 4 more people, or 5. You got 2 mayors, Carmel, 2.
Yeah, I think if we did it in Westcliff
In the
meeting room,
Westcliff.
we probably could separate
Yeah.
that many people. I don't think we could do it in
No,
here.
we don't. I don't want to do it in here.
Okay, with you.
Just what I would propose is that we set it up, and I'd like to do it. We have the authority to execute the towers program when we decide.
Right.
Yeah. We don't have that yet with Carmel, but we've got to be careful when we give an authorization to start spending money, because that would, in some instances, negate the grant. It's like spending money on a program before you get the grant. You can't do that.
Correct.
So we need to have a discussion on timing. We got a lot of time. We got an extension on the towers. We got an extension on the grant process for Carmel's stuff as well. So we need to get together and strategize.
Okay.
So we can pick a time. I would just like to have the agreement here in this meeting that we will go into an executive session to do that and let the team coordinate the when and where as soon as we can. Basically, an executive workshop.
Okay.
Yeah, somewhere I got a little heartburn over this. I think I understand where Commissioner Canada's coming from. Thanks to Clint providing me the citation on the revised statutes. I can't argue with the idea of determining positions relative to matters that may be subject to negotiations, developing strategy for negotiations, and instructing negotiators. I guess my concern would be, and I'm certainly sure council will be at whatever executive session, if that's what we decide to have, that we make darn sure that's all we're discussing. I'm just worried about this thing becoming an overall open kind of workshop. If it's going to be an executive session, we cannot use the word workshop in connection with it, that we just are very pointed about what we're going to talk about. And if it's other stuff, then I just don't want us to get into a conversation. I'll use it for an example, that somebody in the meeting would say, well, wait a minute, how are we going to, where's the building going to be located that we're going to trunk out of? That would not be allowed in that executive session, in my opinion. It has nothing to do with the negotiations.
That's
Only in the sense if we're looking at a particular piece of property,
Right.
we want to keep that confidential so somebody else
Right.
doesn't run out and buy it and then try to triple
Sure.
the price, make some money.
Really, that's
Yeah.
the big point, is how there are blocks, building blocks, that have proprietary information. You know, they always say generically, where is the house going to be? You know, that's a house, what's it need?
Any-
This is why I brought up the question of, does this really need to be an executive session? And if you answered it, I'm very concerned about conducting county business behind closed doors without the public involved. So I'm agreeing with both of you.
Mhm.
My comment.
Yeah, that's all I'm doing.
I agree too.
Talk about something
Yeah.
that if it was open public, you would give a proprietary interest to someone else who may use it adversely.
Right.
I'm
Yeah,
fine
and
with it,
it's-
because that's what the sunshine law exception is for. But I agree with,
I do too.
we need to be very, very, very careful.
In all our executive sessions, we have.
One other
Well-
thing I'd like to interject here is that it doesn't have to be our executive session. The town of Silver Cliff is the one that was kind of taking the lead on this. It could be their executive session, and
Well, you gotta use the right terminology. We have a point of contact for the program, that's us, me, through, okay. So that's the only reason I'm bringing it up, as a joint executive session for all three entities. See, they're in it with us.
Yeah, I don't know. We'd have to
I'm not sure that we can
refer to
have,
legal about that,
Well,
but
they're
I don't,
in that executive session.
we
Yeah.
can invite anybody to our
Sure.
executive session
Yeah.
we feel
They can
has
invite
relevant information,
That's right.
instead of having three.
Yeah.
I don't think you
It
can
just
have.
happens to be, I'm the guy, if it would have been somebody in Silver Cliff, that we'd be going to their executive session.
yeah, it makes sense that we would call that. I'm just more concerned about this format than I would be if we were talking about a county employee and that employee was sitting in here. That's all I'm saying. That's
Right.
it.
And to be honest with you, in truth, this is, it's not unusual. It is unusual for this county, though. We've not gone into acquisitions of this magnitude to where we need to make strategy discussions. You know, we're talking several millions of dollars, and we are accountable for the execution of those dollars and the product that's produced.
Absolutely. I just,
Got to keep it above
so
board.
concerned
Right.
about conducting any business
Me too.
behind closed doors unless there is a legitimate, compelling interest to do so.
Right.
Yeah.
And this may fall into that.
Right, and
So what kinds of acquisitions are you anticipate talking about? Land?
could be land, it's engineering, buying engineering resources, it's towers, there's gonna be RFPs out for towers. I think we're not gonna, you say, you have to be careful using the word business. It's not business, it's the acquisition process that we're talking about.
It's all business under the
Well, it's a business, I know, overarching, but I'm just saying, it's a strategy, session. And we have to have information,
Well, I think we need to have maybe a written agreement ahead of time between the participants as to what the scope is, and then make sure that everybody stays
Sure.
within that.
well, actually, that, the agreement would be the agenda itself. We need to put together the agenda for it.
Well, to the extent that we can disclose what we're going to talk
That's
about
right.
without
Without,
giving out information, the whole purpose of the executive session.
we can work on that as part of the.
Okay. Yeah, and I wouldn't be opposed if it's going to be our executive session to come up with some document and have everybody sign it that's in that executive session. But I can't speak to municipalities, and I sure can't speak to Carmel how they handle executive sessions. I can only deal with
Well,
what we do here. So
And the only thing we could do, I mean, I'd have to write her and make sure if anybody's
Right.
getting out of order, I'll speak up.
Right.
And
Well, you do, and you're not bad.
Yeah. Okay, further discussion? Okay, we're gonna meet again in a week, so I'm assuming we can continue this discussion then unless your desire is to make a decision today.
Well, the decision is to hold one. We will, and we don't have to have a meeting to agree on meeting now, that's all, so we're gonna, I'll put out a time, I'll coordinate times with the municipalities and us. And we're gonna go meet as soon as that can be feasible and timely in order to make things happen correctly. So I need to hold both Carmel and the municipalities, and we'll settle a time with you.
I think you're exactly on what you said.
I know, it's a meeting. Yeah, we don't.
Well, I'll prepare a proposed written agreement for our next
Okay.
meeting
Stating the purpose
and
of an
defining,
executive session.
making
Thank
specific
you.
reference to the statute that it
Yep.
would be held under and what the scope would be, and limited exclusively
Okay.
to that.
Okay, good. And maybe if we're gonna record that, we actually write that in there, that it'll be recorded,
Yeah,
not
this
live
is one
streamed,
that-
whatever those are, because they're not gonna know how we handle our executive
And
sessions.
there isn't going to be any, this isn't confidential legal advice, so this would be recorded.
You good with that, Kelly?
Yeah, it has to be recorded.
I don't know why my mic keeps cutting out. You're gonna have to include Kelly in that scheduling effort. Mr.
Got it.
Okay. Discussion pertaining, thank you. By consent, gentlemen, I'd like to take a 5-minute break before we move on.
Yes, actually.
We stand in recess, 5 minutes. No more cinnamon bears.
Yep.
Yeah, the community unwrapped candy thing has come to a halt.
I wasn't sure if even the wrap stuff was safe, but I took a chance 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Yeah, I said something to my daughter or my granddaughter who's trying to be gluten-free. And I said, well, if you can ever get back up to Westcliff, we'll have waffles. I said, oh, no, we can't because you're gluten-free. She said, Papa, I'll take my chances.
So are you the one that issued that marriage license to Amy handled it?
Amy did it, yeah.
Okay, is she working?
Yes. Yeah, I gave it to her. Yeah, I think people are, even though they're continuing to get married, they're having to come up with, the big weddings this summer, I think, are not gonna happen.
There's another industry that's going to suffer.
Yeah, really. It's kind of sad when you think about all the things that people plan and plan and plan for, and spend all this money on, and
Well, Dark Skies is canceling its Star Festival. They're working so hard.
I figured just a few minutes before
Try to be
this
silent.
summer.
Yeah, the Sainsbury Star Festival 2020 is going to draw anywhere from 500 to 1,000 people supposedly. I haven't been involved in the planning on it. Debbie Adams is one of those.
Jay, we're still recording. We couldn't mute it. Is that canceled?
As of now, although there's some people are saying, let's just postpone it till August or so.
Yeah.
So we haven't made a final decision, I guess.
Hmm. Good. Proud of you. Not easy, is it? It's not easy, is it? Uh-huh. Extremely difficult for me. Yes. Well, maybe she got a pause, but she didn't think she did.
No, she said we're still recording, so behave yourselves.
Yeah, I've gotten a couple of text messages said that people cannot hear us. So yours is getting some weird feedback. It's like the...
Anyway, a little over 2 weeks ago, I got the updates from Carmel. I have the letter of intent from CDOT. You want me to forward those to you?
Yeah, I would like to get all that stuff whenever you get it.
And I'll send them forward if you got lost in the
CDOT today
rush.
is really a problem because this is wonderful for them when we do cutting a ditch for them. They don't have to cut at our expense. Because fiber, so I figured they would be fine. It's the
USDA is using the right of way.
that was my concern. I hate to throw too much money at it until we know that that's not going to come in.
Right, and we'll know that before we leave.
Nope. Oh. You sure?
What's CDOT doing up in Silver Cliff?
I don't know. I've been quarantined, sir. I have no idea. Meeting will come back to order. Next item on the agenda is discussion. We okay, Kelly? You're going? Okay. Discussion pertaining to the Armstrong Associates outstanding bill. I just sent a text over to Donna and asked her if she could come over.
And I talked to her this morning and the other day several times. And she'll be over here in a second. Let me get the ball rolling.
Going the other way, just
Check, check, check. Can you hear me? Sounds like check, check.
Okay, thank you, sir. Yeah, I think we're just going to have to keep these mics a little closer up.
Check, check. That was him. I think check. I'm too low. Check. Check, 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 check. Are you? Okay. All right.
Oh, great. So,
right.
yeah, go ahead.
All right, so this particular invoice is a roll-up of two invoices. One that was actually issued by Armstrong on the 19th of March last year, a year ago. And that invoice was for $3,600, and it was the second half of the geotech investigation work that was performed by a subcontractor to Armstrong in order to test the ground. Not only did they do the runway, they also had to drill where we were going to upgrade the ramp area in the fuel farm. So that was put in there. The problem is it consisted of laboratory testing and samples that were collected for that on-site investigation of the apron and taxiway. At the same time, there were two other $3,600 invoices that were in there, and they got rolled up and confused that one had been paid or not. And so that went on, and our OT6 had paid, and we also paid our half. We paid $3,600 at that time. Anyway, that was rolled up, and then in August, the end of August, the last of the engineering that was required in order to do the make the bids out and get the RFP prepared to actually execute a contract to put it in the ramp and build it. That totaled up to be a $15,250 bill.
15,000.
Yeah, 15,250. So the grand total is 18,850 of the two requests rolled up into one. And that was submitted to us, and then at that time we were working with OT6 to decide whether they wanted to do something before Christmas or after. And Armstrong didn't send the second part of that, or the roll-up, until late November. That turned into Christmas, and nobody responded. And now we started working that with OT6 after the new year. So finally, with OT6 hesitating now, they decided we did not submit the grant request because they weren't ready to back it with half of the required amount for the grant.
Grant request to who, Bill?
This was a ready grant that would be processed through DOLA. And that money is a 50-50 match.
So that was never submitted?
No, we never submitted it because we gave OT6 the option, make a decision by the end of this month in order to submit it in time to get it to be on this cycle. OT6, because of the economy and the issues with oil and gas and everything else, elected not to do that. And so we're going to just put everything on hold, but we need to pay Armstrong, and OT6 will come back. You know, they have the bill now to pay us later. I want to get the books cleared, and because this has been way outstanding for their company to be holding this. And what Donna had proposed is using it out of the capital improvement fund for the airport, which we have money in. By the way, the AWAS grant, we have been, and you saw the note on that, we've been authorized to proceed ATP on that. And that's a $250,000 grant. So money's there that we probably won't use. You know how the year end goes. We'll reconcile this according to Donna in the October time frame when we figure out where we are for our budget process.
Now, you mentioned AWAS. That has nothing to do with this conversation, correct? You're not going to
No, I'm just
commingle
saying-
those funds?
No, you can't.
Okay, so
And,
AWAS,
That's a
Has
separate
nothing to
deal.
do
I'm
with
just
this.
saying
Okay.
that that's the same fund that the money, it's all in one bank account, but there's an accounting for each check that's in there. It's separate.
right.
That's right. Right. But it's I'm pointing out there is a fund site set up for that process to do capital improvements. That's all she wanted to point out.
So $15,250 was for what again?
That was for the engineering and design work associated with the apron and taxiway. You had to finish that to get the specs to the contractors to bid on an RFP, an RFP out to bid on.
And-
Actually,
And was OT6 part of that? Did they contribute to that engineering cost?
yeah, they have been contributing, yes. And I'll have to pull up the invoice here. Here's the invoice, you can see. All the engineering is racked up as we've been paying it along, both us in some cases and OT6 in most cases. So the balance left on that to bring everything up to date with all the engineering specifications for Armstrong is at $18,250.
We've already paid it. We've already voted to pay it.
Yeah, it was in the roll-up.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, sir, but
I just wanted to make sure it was clear what happened there. That's the intent, and they have the invoice, and that that's rolled up in their discussion, because of their. We've sent them the invoice, that's right, and we've sent it to them, the roll-up most recently, a couple, 3 weeks ago.
so you're saying we've invoiced them for half of $18,850?
No, we invoiced them for the whole thing. 18, because we've done what we've agreed to do in the past, and this is the rest of their obligation. Now they may come back and given the times, and they may want to negotiate with us on whether they reimburse us the whole thing or not. That's not been discussed, but right now it's clear to them that this is what we believe they owe.
So, but it is a possibility they come back and say we're not
Sure,
going to pay any
it's,
of it.
because of the economy, whatever. They they winced, you know, they wanted to back, they didn't want to back the half of the cost of this taxiway expansion would have been $250,000 to them.
And where's the airport board with all this, do you know?
They're 100% on board. They understand it.
And they're aware that we're getting into their capital improvement funds by 18,000.
That's right. And we'd have to have Donna explain.
She's on her way. She had to go to the
You know,
post
let her-
office, so
I'm
she's
not
coming
gonna
over
speak
now.
for Donna, because I'll screw it up.
Sorry, but I'm a little fuzzy on all of this. Lot 6 did not agree to pay it. We're just assuming they're gonna pay it.
No, they haven't. They've been invoiced.
I understand, but it's not, they got the invoice based upon
They haven't said they won't pay it.
we have not had a discussion with them that we feel they're obligated to.
We have had a discussion. We went through what was outstanding, you know, on the grant process. We had to do it in order to get the data we needed to go put the grant. Okay. And so they agreed to that, and then the bill has since then has been, you know, provided to them. So we're going to be on standby until we get some more, you know, and I'll be in touch with them daily on that, or not daily, but routinely.
So, if OT 6 was no part of the conversation, would we have expanded this taxiway and all that stuff? We did that for OT
That's
6,
right.
correct?
That's correct. And, well, we did it for both of us because it benefited us, but OT 6 paid the lion's share. I mean, they're the ones that came to us. I can pull up the letter they sent us again. So that said, they said at our expense, we want to do X, Y, and Z, all 5 items.
So with that letter, would that give us, if they turn around and say to us, we don't want to pay this,
Then we can litigate it with them.
would that letter be some kind of agreement that we have with them, a letter agreement saying that they would pay it?
Yes.
So,
That's what we've been saying all along, but
yeah,
we could now look. You can go both ways. We could look at it and say they'll walk away, and we'd be stuck holding the 18,005. Explain where it is, Donna.
well,
so
before
we
you
can-
do that, Donna, I guess I don't have a file on OT 6's paperwork. I'm not going to say I've never seen
You've
any of
seen
it,
and then you haven't
but
given it to you, I can show you.
I've got an airport file. Let me pull it up real quick.
Here's the letter.
My point is, and the reason I brought that up, if somebody was to say, well, can you share with me this document about what we were just talking about with OT 6? I'd probably struggle to come up with it. I thought, there it is. Maybe I've got it, and I just never had it electronically either. But, so that's, well, that's insurance, that doesn't apply. Yeah, and I'm not being critical, Bill, I'm just saying,
No, I
I'm
know.
not sure I could
I'm
ever
trying to get all the information.
articulate that.
And I can share with you we sent OT 6 a letter. The airport board did. That laid out, giving them the choices. They can either decide to walk away and not do any more development. You can do the grant 50-50 or 20-20, keep going down that process, or to continue with them doing what they asked us in the first place. They had 5 items. One was the berm, which they did, you know, early on, and then these other 4 items, which are getting the short-term
Can you look real
parking,
quick?
et cetera, and it was at their expense. Now, you know, times change, and you know, we would like to have gotten that done a year ago, you know, but
Here's what my concern is. My concern is we fronted the entire $18,850, whatever the number is, with the anticipation
See, the process, go ahead.
We did that based upon a letter of agreement where they said, we will pay for this. I have a real angst if they come back and say, we are reneging on.
Right.
what
I
we-
do too.
what we asked you to do county and you paid for it, now we're not gonna pay you. So maybe this discussion's even premature. Maybe we need to hear first that they're not going to pay.
Right.
I mean, if they say, here's your check and we're done, this is a good conversation.
You know, just so you know what the process has been, and Donna can tell you, the payments that we've made have all been done in a timely fashion where the minute we've sent them the invoice, they paid us before the end of the month. And so it was a pass-through, basically. You know. And this is the first one that, because it got lost in the background, and then it coincided with the end of the project, basically, until we could get the grant done. It's outstanding. And Armstrong's been real good about eating it for now, for the year.
So $18,850. Donna, thanks for coming over. I appreciate that. She was at the post office when I initially invited her to come over, so that was the delay. It's not her fault. So $18,850. Bill reported $15,250 was the cost for the engineering for the taxiway and for the apron. And then you mentioned, Bill, $3,600 never got paid. Well, that doesn't add up to 18,000. Oh, yeah, maybe it does. I'm sorry. So it's 3,600 plus the 15.
It does.
250. Okay.
Thirty.
already voted to pay that when we approved the vouchers.
The 3,600 was for lab testing and samples. Is that
Yep.
right?
Let me get the exact.
And that went to Armstrong, or did that go to Duran?
That went to Armstrong. Armstrong paid Caesar. Let me find the. I just lost my note. Where did I send it? I read it to you. Oh, here it is.
So this 3,600 has been floating for over a year.
3,600 was the second half of geotech investigations work performed on. We did the runway initially, and then we did the ramp area secondly, and that was the second tranche. Was in March of last year, and we paid half of that.
We're discussion about
This is a
this
discussion,
balance.
so you
that was-
understand where we stand.
Right.
That's all I wanted to make you aware of.
Well, we've got an outstanding
This is
bill.
not, we're not gonna vote on anything.
Yeah,
Right?
no,
No.
we've already done that.
This has to be done, and I just wanted to make you aware because our OT6 is cringing. This is public, but they are concerned about spreading themselves thin on a lot of projects. They've got the big project on their ranch and the airport, and then their investments and other things. So,
All of that is
So that made it
consequential if they've made an agreement to us.
to me,
I'm feeling the need to abide by it.
I do too, and they know that's where we stand. Believe me.
Understand? Yeah. I mean, look, these are fine folks. They're not gonna renege on an agreement. I know that.
The letter that Bill was talking about, I reviewed that back at the time. We have a contract. That letter is an offer. We accepted their offer by virtue of performance. We actually have performed what they asked us to do, so we have a binding legal contract here if it's necessary to ever enforce
Okay,
it.
thank you.
And and it's hard for those guys. They're so busy. They wrap up and they say, "Did we agree to that?" That's how they feel. What? Yes, you did. And both Lynn and Brian Anderson have been involved in the negotiation, not the negotiation, but the options we presented them in order to continue. And we're good with them stopping where they are. It's fine for now. Right, this is a wrap-up of all of the outstanding bills, period. We're good with it, we're fine. And we've got the engineering, we always own the engineering now to go and put a bid out on our own if we decide to do it at some point.
Now, assuming the airport board understands that BOCC may choose not to pay this.
That's true, and you know,
That's coming out of their capital improvement line item, correct?
down, you're being a lawyer, and that's okay. Right, right. Yeah, it is, and this is really a small cost if you look at their big picture, and it would be more damage to them from they want to be good neighbors, and they've said that from the get-go. And you were out at the airport when we presented them with the thank you. But it may take time, and that's all. And Donna says we've got at least the ability to absorb that time, and that's fine. You know, we can work with them. Yeah.
We're not anticipating any other expenses, correct?
None. Everything's stopped.
I don't know why my mic's not working, Kel, but.
Kelly keeps playing with it.
You become a sound engineer for the commissioners, right?
Kelly, the mixer.
I will speak up, and then about the time I do, it start working. So Donna, any input on this discussion?
And as Bill said, we do have time. We have budgeted money for, we have budgeted money for the AWAS system, so that money is sitting out there for capital outlay for the airport. And so, so to speak, for this year.
It's our money, not grant money.
Other questions?
See, and by the way, that's a good point. Think about it. We had to match the AWAS grant, and they did to the tune of 20 grand. So that, and then the AWAS may not use all the money. So
They did being not six.
no, we did.
You said
The
they
airport
matched the grant.
airport board matched the AWAS grant. We did. So that was 20 grand. So the money's there to float it for now.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it. Okay, thank you, Bill.
You bet.
All right, we will move on. Next item of business, consideration of the MOU with the Custer County Economic Development Corporation. Council has prepared a draft for us to look at today.
I'll pull mine up. So I'll introduce this, and I want to thank Clint, who said he's never done an acquisition MOU in his life. He did, and I didn't know he could edit as well as he did, because all I did was talk to him back and forth in a socially acceptable distance, which was 5 miles or 10 miles, whatever it was. And Clint did a great job. And the reason this is necessary, and we've talked about it before, and it goes through this in detail, but let me explain it in a summary form. It's important for the county to have a process to execute our taxpayer dollars for the acquisition of systems, of hardware, of cars, whatever. And we do have a policy, and Clint integrated that policy, which I think you all saw before, and that's the purchasing and contracting policy, and he actually incorporated paragraph 2 in this, or 3 I think it was, and discusses that in the body of this agreement. Government acquisition for state or federal or counties are similar. And all this is doing is tightening up the process where in the past it's been, I want you to do this with a handshake or an RFP that gets out. And I've seen it in my short time here on the BOCC. We've gotten more involved with more money and more complex programs. And it's important for us, this board, not me, but us, to have insight on how our money's being spent. We don't want to go in and say, we've got a grant or we've got money we're going to give you. Go at, do an RFP and then say, call me when we have the ribbon cutting ceremony. You have to be engaged along the way, because a plan's only as good as the minute you develop it, and the minute you release that plan, you got to be able to react. You got to be able to change your positions on the field or in the battle or in the process of acquiring this. So what we've done here, Clint did a great job on that first part that establishes the fact that we have a broadband infrastructure expansion program. And it's broader than just the fiber program or the tower program, because now the broadband is a system that integrates both of them. And the only people that are accountable is this board right here and the on this particular program for the impact of how it performs and how much money we spend on it and whether we use the money wisely. Government contracts have a lot of history of overruns, and if you don't pay attention to them, I saw it on, and I think we all saw it when they did the Justice Center presentation Morphinville County had, and they kept overrunning, and then they finally grabbed a hold of it and helped alleviate that. So my proposal, I'm not married to this, and if you got other changes we need to make, let's do it. But the point that I wanted to make is this is a program. It's our program. It's not CCED's program. And in the past, I've seen them, for whatever reasons, there is no MOU between CCED and us in the past. There's no formal agreement that Clint could find, or that I could find, other than they came into us and asked us to sign a document for a grant, and we sponsored things. So we set up the program in the first couple of paragraphs here, and then the therefores get into using it. And I would like to propose that we use this process as a generic process. It's for any grants or other sources. And you notice on that first paragraph 1, it says, therefore the county and CCEDC agree that funds obtained through the DOLA grant. Now, it could be any grant, and from any other grants or sources. I wanted to, because in fact, we may be, if we integrate these two programs, and we have USDA grants, and we have there's a EDA grant. Even in this one, there's more than a DOLA grant. It's an EDA grant that's going to be released to us. Are the property of the county and shall be deposited in a separate fund created by Custer County Treasurer and shall be dispersed in accordance with the policies and procedures set hereforth. The county shall function as the system program office. That's a generic term. We have a system, in this case, a communication system and an IT system. And the only reason I put the commissioner, this is me as the program manager acting on behalf of the board. That's not me making the decisions, as a suggestion. Or we could, at some point, it could have been a county manager. If we'd had a county manager, it could be that person, or it could be any one of us. Okay, and then for the planning, procurement, and execution of the program. In other words, the contractors that we're going to be dealing with need a point of contact as a program for future meetings, and I'll get into that here in a few minutes. And the many tasks and duties required to complete the program goals and objectives may be delegated to the CCED. We don't have to use them. We can use somebody of their choosing, or an organization that we can set up separately, like I mentioned before. But the county shall at all times retain final decision-making authority. We're not going to walk away from it. Then Section 3 is actually Section 3 out of the policy that we have right here. And then Clint made a good point of saying, we've already applied for the grant, so that part of this doesn't apply because we've already got it. And then number 4 down here says, once the program plans and schedules have been agreed to, in other words, we have to have a kickoff on this. We're not going to just say, go ahead, you got the grants, you come back to us. Yeah, go ahead. Stop me anytime.
Paragraph 3. both parties acknowledge that some of the provisions set forth are no longer applicable for the reason that there is not a grant application pending in this instance. We've got two grant
Not an application. We
application pending, correct?
we have
This addresses the particular DOLA grant. It doesn't address the other grant.
he spec'd DOLA up there or any other grants in the future. So we do that would still apply to the EDA grant, Tom. We, you know,
Section 3 would apply in its entirety to that since.
Right.
we-
Specifically referring to DOLA here.
Yes.
and he made it broad enough so it's covering both conditions now. But he spec'd out DOLA in the front and here. Okay.
Yeah,
But you make a good point. It's
yeah,
the,
maybe I'm splitting hairs. The grant funds have not been awarded. We do not have any grant funds.
I thought it had been awarded.
they have Tom.
No, they haven't. They've given us a commitment of funds based on the EDA grant. Without the EDA grant, we don't get these funds.
I talked to Christy and she said the $87,000 grant we have been awarded,
Yes, that's correct.
and so yeah, I guess maybe
Additional money, though, is contingent upon getting the FDA grant. However, I think that is a commitment from DOLA. It just has that condition on it.
yeah,
Correct.
that's right.
Now, the grant
That's true.
funds, if you're talking about the
It's not an app.
97,000 or whatever that amount was, 87.
87.
True. And I stand corrected. I was saying about the $1 million grant.
See, and that's the point. The $1 million grant is pending, but it's not an application. It's contingent upon the other one. It's been granted, right?
And this agreement specifically makes reference to DOLA grant EIAF 8635. That's the
And
money that we do have.
right. It's right on the money, and it also allays my fear. We cannot spend money without understanding the impact of spending the money, and we have the authority, and this is the agreement that recognizes that authority to make sure. Yeah.
Maybe I oversimplified this when I read it, because I read a couple times. And then I read your modification, but I didn't see a whole lot. So I'm still looking at the one that we originally got. It appears to me what we're really setting out is that the Economic Development Corporation has no authority to do anything without the BOCC saying yes.
Yeah.
We'll authorize them to act on our behalf,
If
our direction,
yeah, and whatever our behalf means at the time. That's exactly right.
our direction. We'll tell them what we want them to do and not to do. And I thought this was great. Probably long overdue. I don't mean that in any way negatively.
No, but I don't either. But it is long overdue.
It came to fruition and we did it. So this is really just, to me, it's basically establishing a relationship between economic development and Custer County that we are in charge. They work for us in any of the grants that we get. It is our money and they will work under our auspices. The only thing I did see in here, since they're a private corporation, are they going to be charging a fee
They
to Custer County to administer this?
they can, and the answer is yes. They could, and the answer is they always have. They've had administrative fees. Well, I'll give you Cheryl Grant's strategic plan, for example. They had a $5,000 administrative fee that they had in the contract. We took that and applied it to more because we managed it and not them. So yes, they can act as a contractor, and we can assign them jobs, and they can tell us how much that's going to be if they wanted to execute it. Well, and here's how. Here's how it's handled in this too, because the next step, what this is doing is two things. It's setting up an MOU between us and them. It's generic too, but it also sets up a process and a procedure that the county has now. We have an acquisition policy. We have an acquisition process on how we execute it. Yeah. No, I know. I'm just saying. I'm just saying it. But this is the skeleton for us. Here's how we engaged CCED. The next few sentences do that. It says here that once the program plans and the schedules have been agreed to, that means that that's a meeting with us and them to come up with what is the big picture on the program. Paragraph 4. Shall be ministered without the necessity of obtaining the county's approval of routine decisions that must be made or minor expenditures. However, any major decision that may be significant impact on the overall outcome of this program must be presented to the Board of County Commissioners in a public meeting. And those meetings are defined here, and this is what the process really is. It's program management reviews, which occur usually monthly. Now, initially, we might want it twice a month or something. And in those meetings, you establish the requirements, you establish who's doing them, you agree to that, you see the execution of initial funds that you're going to ask us to spend. We allocate that money, we give them the authority to spend it in those kinds of meetings. The technical interchange meetings are a bit different because those are with the technical gurus, not necessarily with the commissioners. It can be one commissioner, it could be anybody visiting that. It could be the technical guys worrying about, it could be Gary Hyde coming in here as a technical deal where he's going to build pads for part of the program, or a subcontractor is going to build those pads, and we're going to have a review of the specs or whatever. And then the budget reviews, that's what they're called. You actually review the spending. See, in the past, what have we done? We counted on Brenda when she was here. Brenda kept the books. She had the budget on the grant process. We're going to keep that as a separate item within our budget, program reviews, and we'll know where the money stands. We'll know who's spending that money, what that's allocated for, and that has to be done together with ECED and us, and any subcontractor that's part of that process. If we're building towers, I know people have talked to me already. Well, I want to bid on the towers. Well, it's not one organization. I've got a friend that's going to build these towers for me. I'm going to put it out for bid, and then they have to be accountable to us.
Conduct some periodic reviews.
In this case, that's the program manager calls those meetings. That would be me in this case, scheduling a meeting and making a public. Anybody can come to those program reviews and make that happen. The technical interchanges, that could be one of the subcontractors saying, we got a problem out here. We got a broken Caterpillar out here. We got a broken tower. It's going to cost us more money. And then you have to get into the details of how do you fix that and how do you stay within budget. You hold them to the budget, and then if you can't, then you have to say this is something that has to be taken forward. It's going to result in more money being spent that's out of the budget, and you would move money back and forth, within the scope of the $2 million. Now, I have every indication, after talking to a lot of contractors about this, that the $2 million was a wag to begin with, and it more than covers, they think, the ability to do this. Also, with this, we'll be able to, in my view, we're not limited. Right now, the way they propose this to us, they were limited to 2 ISPs, 2 providers. And they were building the towers only strong enough to handle those 2. So and they told us that we could make money renting the space to those 2 providers, and that would pay for the grading of the roads, the right-of-ways in there, and the maintenance on the emergency generators, et cetera. If lightning strikes, we got to replace a generator. That's on our back. We have to pay for that. If the tower comes down, we have to rebuild it. That's the way they have it set up. We don't necessarily have to do that if we put the plans and program together up front here that says we're not good with a closed system where you got a contractor you've already selected, which they have. Let's put it out for bid and let's manage it like a real program. So that's that paragraph there.
Where did the dollar figures come from in paragraph 4?
Clint.
That's right out of our purchasing policy.
So you're saying countywide, we can accept verbal bids on less than $25 or less than $10,000?
That's the way it's written in the purchasing policy.
Now, in this case, there'll be some of those, and that's good. I mean, you need that flexibility. You're managing a program, and the program manager on the contractor side has the ability to go spend $500 for computers to do his work in his office. We don't need to get involved in that. As long as they stay within the scope of the big program. And then finally, it points out here, this paragraph's really great. I think Clint did a great job. 6. County's answerable. See, this points up why, and you heard me say it to Charles the other day. We are accountable. The county's responsible for the program performance and for any fiscal errors that happen. That we're the guys that get blamed, and we're accountable. So I wanted to make that clear in writing, and it's not the intent of the county to impede or interfere with any performance that these guys are doing concerning and then we got to slip, where is it? Go down to from the concerning the program. So that we got cut out the other things here because Clint was throwing a good bone here, but I wanted to get to the point. The county is formalizing this relationship between the two entities solely for the reason that it is ultimately responsible for assuring that all grant funds and other monies, either raised tax money or donated or appropriated for this program, are expended properly and prudently.
So the word "it," I'd like clarification on what it means.
Where's it?
That the county is ultimately responsible,
The county is ultimately.
and that would probably be better language.
Yeah,
to
I
make
like
it
that
clear.
too. Let me find it. Where is it?
I mean, I know it's the third sentence up from the bottom.
Third
I
line.
know the "it" refers to the county mentioned in the fourth line up from the bottom.
Oh, yeah. That it is. Yeah, that the county, let's make that correction right there. That the county is ultimately responsible.
And in my thinking, I get it, that everything above that sentence is the nuts and bolts, but this sentence, in my opinion, is why we're doing this.
That's right.
Yeah, it's defining the relationship.
And we've reiterated, if you read it carefully, the front of this document says it, the middle says it, and the end says it. We are accountable. Good.
Now, there was one "shall" in there that I kind of questioned, paragraph 4, second sentence.
Let's go up to that. We had some other shalls and we had other musts in there. Where is it?
Second sentence, paragraph 4.
Second sentence paragraph. Okay, shall be administered.
Shall be administered.
I like that. It should be may.
May.
That overlooked that.
Because that means the county has no authority then to administer any of that.
Right. We don't have the choice to either let them do it or not. I agree. I think we had that as a may, didn't we?
If you did, I missed it, because I know we changed the one.
We changed
2
several.
lines below where it said,
Yeah. This should be may. That's exactly right.
We do a "may be administered by."
Yep. That's at our discretion. Can we check your fever?
I have allergies, and I'm really saying this to the public, because they're going, what's this sick guy doing? They're blowing his nose in the I'm 100% healthy, I just have allergies.
So, council, are you're comfortable with this MOU, with these changes? Do we need to consider it further later on, or what's your take?
well, I think, yeah, I'm satisfied with it. It spells out the relationship between the county and economic development for this program and for future, and I think this can serve as a template for future agreements for other matters we enter into an agreement with economic development. So,
Or
If-
any other company.
or anybody else for that matter, it's just a matter of changing a few things around, but I'm sorry, I'm not talking into my microphone, but, I mean, if this meets with your approval, and obviously, Custer County Economic Development hasn't seen this. This was to see if we had a proposed agreement we would like to present to them, but I think this is satisfactory for what we're looking for at this point.
So, the reason I asked, I'm assuming Commissioner Canada's fine with it as one of the co-authors. So, do you want to take this back, clean language up, get rid of the strikes and all that, bring it back to us next week, and then we can take formal action on it? Commissioner Canada, your thoughts there?
I think we have two ways to approach it. We can approve it as it is corrected here and let it be, or we can do exactly that and take a look at the final one. Because all it'll happen, there could be typos and that kind of thing, but those are not law binding. I don't think you can correct those after the fact.
Yeah, I mean,
I'd like.
if you look at the document, we're going to attest to two signatures on this, so EDC's going to have to be here.
We're going to have
Right,
to see it
right.
and sign it with us.
I would say let's clean it all up, get it in a presentable form. We invite Economic Development Company to come to the meeting when we
Okay.
consider this.
So then what we can say is what we approve this document to be used to present, right? As presented, so we can clean it up. Don't we have to agree to do that, or are we just going to do it?
Cleaned up before we adopt it.
No, I don't mean that. I mean, we, just to do exactly what you said, we agree with what we've got here, the process, the skeleton. So we're going to clean it up. Do we have to vote on agreeing to the skeleton or not?
No, I don't think so. I think
Okay.
I agree.
Just wanted to make sure
we're
we're-
satisfied with it.
Yeah.
I'd just like to see it cleaned up, then
I agree.
we can
Oh.
vote on it with either to recommend it to the EDC, or we can invite them and vote on it.
Well, that
right
begs,
then.
that's a good question. Now, I don't think we want to, I don't think we want to mix the two. I think we want to have a document to say, come on in here, guys, we got an MOU to discuss. They could. Okay.
Yeah, this is a proposed agreement. We take any input, then take that input into account. Because my point is, it's got both of our signatures on here, so we're gonna have to do it at the same time with them here if Kelly's gonna attest to those two signatures.
Correct.
We can't sign it.
That's right, you can't sign it, no. I wasn't looking to sign it, I was looking for an action
No, I think
that we
this
agreed to.
looks forward here. I agree.
Okay, so let me caution you on one thing. Normally, a government agency like us has a contract. Basically, that's what this is. And so I've never seen a government agency give a contract over and have that contractor, he can have some issue. I got to understand what they come back and want to change. What's called as a negotiation on the contract. Could be money. It could be, I don't want that accountability. You guys take it, that kind of thing. So that's what I want. That's what I would expect to have come back. The point that I don't want to lose, we're going to hold any organization accountable in the acquisition process to us, and I want to lose that.
I don't view this as a contract. I view it as a memorandum of understanding.
Well, that's what
It's an agreement.
It's not a contract,
Well-
they're gonna perform something or else. It's
Right. It's,
an agreement, and I like it.
I will clean it up. I don't know if it came through to you with yellow highlighting. Okay, because it didn't show up.
You didn't, I thought you, yeah, this is the edited version that you sent out.
Okay, well, I will delete all of the yellow highlighting, the strikeouts, and make those changes. And
It's there.
the one that came in that I
That
sent
is-
last night,
Mine?
because I
came
sent
out
it
that
to
way.
myself, and it came with no highlighting.
Yours the yellow, Tom?
Yeah, I saved this the second time. There's been two of these. some additional strikes. This yellow highlighted copy went out with the second board packet.
And Clint sent that yellow one to you last night, I think.
Yeah, it was pretty
That's the one
late. It was after 9 o'clock before I sent it out, but I'll clean this up and here's my question to you, then I'll have it ready, for you right away. Do you want me to send it to Charles as soon as I have it cleaned up, or would you rather wait and look at it and
Look at it.
authorize me on our next meeting?
Look at it next week. I mean,
All right,
I meet again on the
okay.
7th, so.
I'll get it cleaned up and
Yeah, that's
we'll
okay,
have it.
because,
whether you need it as,
what we can't, I'll have to make sure they are not spending any of the DOLA money in the meantime. We haven't authorized that yet. And our policy says it has to be authorized anyway, even if DOLA says you can start spending. Yeah. We need to remind them.
Yeah,
Because you know what Christie told me, they've changed their way of doing business. Normally, the contract from DOLA comes to the Board of Commissioners and they sign it. She says they don't have to do that anymore. All you gotta do is start spending money. And if they told Charles he can go spend money, I don't want him spending any money yet, because we can't do that yet. But our policy says they can't do it anyway.
our MOU said that.
No, this policy right here says it. Yeah. Get the other details they might want in there. Yeah. And
How
that's,
about the 97,000?
yeah, they cannot start executing that.
Yeah, I think the reminder's good point.
I'll call him.
Okay, so we're good? Yeah,
I'll have it ready for you for our next meeting.
my mic's gone.
I think the
Why?
batteries are
Just
going,
there
that's what the
now.
problem is.
Came back, I keep turning it on and shutting it off, but. Next item of business, discussion of utilization of county employees as volunteers. Commissioner Kanda, you asked for this to be put on there?
Yeah, we looked into it. I think it's pretty straightforward. Talked to Clint. There's nothing legally wrong with asking them to volunteer. We've had several requests for help from VSO. John needed a lot of help moving food, organizing his pantry and all that. And I think the only issue was, and I think it was a matter of how do you get the word to the county employees they can volunteer if they want to. And I know that there was a request for addresses and phone number, not addresses, but phone numbers to get a hold of people. So I don't know where that stands today, but I think from the county helping this problem, this is a good use of some of the people that are furloughed, if they want to be participants.
Well, John Carroll is the volunteer
Coordinator for that.
So I would assume if, for me, I would reach out to the department heads and the elected officials and ask them to provide that information.
That's right. And how do they get to them, though, is but they're not in their offices to answer those phones. They need
No,
it'd be a personal phone number, and we got to find personal numbers. Maybe we could just put out a request to the employees to provide a phone number if you want to volunteer.
right, exactly. That's what's been happening outside of the
Yeah.
employees. So do you want to follow up with that with the
I'll talk.
department heads and elected officials?
Yeah, and I'll talk to John and
Shoot him an email and ask him. Anything else for that?
no.
Ratification of the new West Custer County Library District Board member, Terry Matthews. I would move that we approve or ratify the appointment, that the appointment has been done. Move to ratify the appointment of Terry Matthews
I'll second.
on the library board. Been moved and seconded to ratify the appointment of Terry Matthews. I put that down as a 3-year on the document, on the board appointment document. I think it's 3-year renewable every year. Sorry, let me rephrase that. That didn't come out right. He reports to us every year, but I think it's a 3-year. If not, I will find that out.
I think it is too.
But I looked discussion? Let me pull that doc up real quick. I want to make sure I've got it. How many pages can a person have open at once? I believe I added that, correct? On the board appointment document. Looking for some help here, gentlemen. Yeah, first name, I just replaced. Right,
Terry.
I put her name in there instead of,
I don't know who it is.
school teacher.
Uh,
Former school teacher, know him very well, cannot think of his name.
Oh,
No.
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 Ah,
I can't either, and I've already deleted his name. So anyway, I put it in as 12/23. I'll confirm that with Sean. Hearing no further discussion, proceed to vote. All in favor of ratifying Terry Matthews' appointment to the West Custer County Library Board? Yeah, 3-year term, that's right. Say aye.
aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Now that I look, it says right there below it that they're 3-year terms. Any other additional items? Go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
In our board pack was an invoice from Broadcast Consulting performing the lost translation services.
Yes.
I'm just kind of, came out of nowhere.
Yeah, I'll address that in just a second, sir. You said it was in the board packet?
My board packet.
Yes.
Translators.
And it was, yeah, TV translator. It was also, do you mind just a second, Mrs. Barnum? I just cut off Kara too.
I do that all the time.
The translator went down on Lookout Mountain. So they sent it to Colorado Springs to have it repaired. We got it repaired. We got it back. I can't unequivocally say it's been reinstalled, but I'm pretty sure it's been installed. And the bill on that was for $450. It was in the voucher. No. That's correct.
It needed to be done.
Because the vouchers, you didn't see who it was, what it was, or anything else, I included the actual invoice in the board packet so you'd have an idea of what was going on. Yeah, just supplemental to the fact that that work was done. And Vince Cook drove it down to get it repaired and went back and got it. Anything else?
Yeah, go ahead, Jay. One other thing.
Curious about Road and Bridge being on furlough right now. First, let me preface what I'm going to say by I truly believe the safety of our employees is of utmost importance. Unlike many businesses that depend on people coming in and spending money to pay their employees, we're in a very fortunate position to have budgeted
I'll share my perspective on this. Certainly,
And I will too.
Commissioner Kanda is welcome to do the same. So the conversations I've had have been with Alyssa and Gary. Both agree that road and bridge is not essential, critical infrastructure or personnel at this point. Gary has told me that the roads are in fine shape. If we get a huge snow event or a flood event or something else, he is willing to revisit that and consider those employees critical. But at this point, he doesn't think they are. And secondly, I think part of this conversation had to do with Governor Polis's order to stay at home. So that's where it shook out with me.
Okay, I got a comment too on it because I thought about it too. Did Polis also pull off all his road crews on the state? You bet they are. They are. And there's reasons for that. It's the safety of the public and being able to go back and forth and conduct commerce that is essential for the crisis itself too. I had the same opinion of this for us, and not only that, it is,
Yes.
we've raised money to keep the roads going, and part of the problem we have is, luckily, the wear and tear on the roads have lessened, so the washboards aren't occurring as often. But you need to maintain the roads in order not to waste the money that we've invested in getting the roads into shape that you've got to keep them in shape with. So I think it and it keeps them busy doing other things too. So I can go either way on this, but I think they ought to be working personally. Maybe it's a limited amount. I don't think there's an issue of them coming in contact except with each other, and Gary can handle that. I've talked about that. You don't have to have everybody in the office getting a safety briefing at the same time, for example, shoulder to shoulder. So I think from a county point of view, I think that's in our purview to put them to work. I don't think that if we think it's in the best interest of the taxpayer.
I would like to really defer again to our professionals in this area, OEM and Director of Public Health. They feel it's in their best interest to stay home. I'm fine with it. It was just a question of, there's not a 6 feet issue if there's one person in a truck. The mechanics, I understand. I've asked this question, are far apart from each other in the shop. My concern was neglecting the roads, even though I know they're in good shape, neglecting them will create greater issues down the road. So I was just bringing this up as a question more than anything else.
And I agree.
I defer to public health
and I would defer to them and the exceptions that are been issued by public health, and I think they fall in that category. It's there's a discretion to use them or not, and you can always err on the side of caution. That's fine. And I don't have a problem with them staying home because of that.
Yeah, I think that's what it boiled down to, my conversation with Alyssa about this. I posed the same question, should they or should they not be working? And it really came down to, obviously, there's nothing carved in stone, and she said, look, we're in uncharted waters here. I would rather err on the side of caution than in 2 weeks say we screwed up by sending those people to work and now we got 4 confirmed cases in road and bridge. Those roads are not that critical in my thinking. I get it. I understand. We've invested money in those roads to get them where we're at now, and to just walk away and ignore them may not be prudent, but I say it's a lot less prudent than ending up on the downhill side of getting some people infected. So I supported it. I said, I'm fine with it. I'll talk to the commissioners about it. Gary believes that it's prudent. He'd love to have them out there working, but he believes it's prudent that they don't. That's where I came from.
Leaving it up, so let's not go any further than that, unless Gary gets a call from something and there's something that's happened, a car accident has ruined something.
You want some of
Cannot lock them out of it.
Alyssa.
Yeah,
I think
hold
we're
on
good.
just a second.
Good. I really would love to hear her opinion.
You're on speakerphone, Alyssa. Can you hear me?
Sorry, I was on mute.
I want to talk, but she
So
muted
I,
herself.
I actually wrote in my order yesterday, as far as the county offices to remain closed with essential in-person employees only. I wrote a thing in there saying that the Custer County Road and Bridge functions will remain closed with exception to an event requiring
There you
immediate
go.
attention,
That's it.
such as a snowstorm or flood.
Okay.
Or a wreck, crash, whatever.
Sounds good. Okay.
Yeah, I think, I mean, we're all nodding our head in agreement here. You can't see that, obviously, but, yeah, I mean, you had a conversation with Gary as well, and I had just stated, and you must have heard it, that Gary would like to have them working, but he just feels it's prudent that they don't.
Yeah, I agree at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the more stuff that we can shut down and have people not out in the community, the better.
Correct.
And I wish I had more control over more things, but I don't. So, because of so many exceptions in the order
Right.
from the governor.
Yeah.
So.
On a related note, I want to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Are you prepared to shut down a business that continually defies this 6-foot social distancing, 50% labor force, whatever it is?
Yep, I'm in the process of doing that right now, as a matter of fact. And that being said, I'm not gonna. I can't be going out and like just policing everything all the time. But if I get a complaint, I will most definitely look into it and act upon it.
Okay. Perfect. Good. Okay. Yeah, I think the public needs to understand, certainly the small businesses need to understand. We'll try to support small businesses as much as we can, but we also expect them to adhere to the law. And this stay-at-home thing was an order. It became law when the governor announced that. And the same with the 6-foot thing. It's not, well, I'm gonna have a little deal anyway. No, that's not acceptable. So I believe the commissioners would support you in that very vein. I mean, we have to do things out of the normal to try to protect our citizens,
Yes.
whether they like it or not. So,
Yeah.
and so this order that you're working on, when do you anticipate it hitting the public?
It's actually the one that I just talked about with Road and Bridge actually went out yesterday.
Yeah, it was out.
Oh, you included the road and bridge on that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and I was kind of listening in a little bit late on that, on your BOCC live stream, so that's why I decided to call in and
Yeah.
see that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Commissioner Candy, you had something else you
Yeah, I
wanted to
got
bring
something
up?
I meant to bring up in the beginning. And you both got a note from Kendall Burgermeister from the Upper Ark. And he sent out a letter on Friday that had to do with the new filings that the court's got, and they're going to dismiss a bunch of things. And then he called me yesterday because the county, as a county, we objected in that filing as well from a county point of view, but we don't have any water rights. And so I asked him to summarize. He wants to know, first of all, that today's the last day to do anything if you want to contest it anymore, except that he thinks he can get it. There's a week delay, I think, that he could probably get if it's necessary. So I asked him to give us a summary of what he's asking, and that's the second letter he gave us at noon yesterday. And it shows where we have not been, actually we've missed a lot of deadlines as if we were objectors to the case. We haven't been doing anything.
We missed one deadline.
He's got 3 down there. The 15th of October, provide comments on May 19th proposed decree. 11/29, we missed provide the initial disclosures. And then on the 25th of March. So if we want to do anything, then we have to actually, if we want to stay engaged in the process, then we have to answer some of this. He thinks that, and he points it out in the bottom here, separate to that, I've been pulling the water users together, and we've had those meetings, and as a matter of fact, I just got the minutes from the last one, and I'll disseminate that to everybody. I just asked for it yesterday. It's how I got into this. Get the minutes out. He thinks that it's been useful to even the objectors and people that aren't objecting to have those meetings, and they've been productive, and he points that out in this little deal there. So I just wanted to bring it up, because if we don't do anything, then we will be dropped. The judge is going to throw us off the docket. So I just wanted to bring that up. You can read the stuff, read the letter on the Friday. You'll see the filings.
Yeah, we just didn't respond to those filings. I wouldn't say we missed those deadlines.
No.
We just did not respond. The only
Well,
deadline, or the only thing we've truly missed, was the status conference call in March.
That's not what I meant. I just meant we needed.
No,
to
we did
engage
not
in-
respond to any
right,
of those.
Right.
So from a macro point of view, since we have no standing in this as a county, is it time to let us drop out? And here's why I bring this up. We rallied forces. We got the water committee together. We have you, Commissioner Flower, as our representative. Bill, you've been very involved in this. I've been involved in it. But without standing, how much effort and work will the county be putting into something that we don't even have a right to be in? This is just a philosophical question. Is it time for us to back out of this now that we got the troops rallied? We have our water users in a group working. Maybe we've completed our mission.
Well, I tag onto that. I think you're right, and I think with Tom being the member over there, there's no reason. The only thing this gets us is we get on the mailing distribution of everybody's actions that are going on in the court, and we would have privy to what that's happening by the normal meetings, and we can request things. I mean, Tom can do it as a member de facto or ex officio over there. So I think we're good. We're going to continue having blue line discussions. You'll see the minutes to this last meeting were very productive. It was a good meeting, and they actually showed where they have listened to, for example, to Randy Rusk and Robert Miller with their proposals, and they actually resolved Randy's thing without costing any court time. So it's been working. So I think we did exactly what you said. I just wanted to bring it up. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think we've ran our course, unless we're willing to step up and hire an attorney, which we're kind of late to that whole ball game too. But we are not the only ones. If you would have looked or have looked at his prior email, there's a significant number listed there, and then there was a whole nother document for Walker WAW Cattle
Right,
Ranch.
there's
So,
25 of them, I think.
my opinion is I think we've served our purpose.
That's what I'm thinking.
Me too.
That's why I brought it up.
I'll
So-
tell him that he doesn't. I thanked him for thinking of us because he actually took the time to bring it to our attention.
But we could ask Mr. Burgermeister if he's willing to just keep us in the loop when there are filings, just so we could read them and see what's going on, just as an interested party. Now, I understand if we remain a party to the lawsuit, we're entitled to it. We're not entitled to it if we
Right.
drop out. But he certainly could share whatever he gets with us if we request it. I mean,
Sure.
that would be his option.
It would be the same thing. I agree. 'Cause you could sit in one of their board meetings and ask for the same stuff as a private citizen if you wanted to.
Yeah, you may get charged for it. So
That's right.
They're
I bet he
incurring
would do
some
it as a
significant financial burdens to provide all this documentation.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if they say, you know what, if you're not an opposer, no, you're not privy
I'll,
to that. But this conversation can be had.
I can ask him.
Yeah, if we do nothing, as I understand the last motion filed with the courts,
We're out of it.
that for the above reasons, the Water Conservation District requests that the court enter an order dismissing the statements of opposing from the people named above.
That's right.
So,
gave us the, it was nice of him to do that, I thought.
I
'Cause
agree with
he gave us an extra week if we wanted to fool around with it.
Right. As a commissioner, I believe we've done our due diligence, and I'm willing to let us be dropped as an opposer. I don't know, Clint, if we need a motion to that effect, or,
You can't do it today. It's not on the
yeah,
No, you
just
get
let it,
action.
just let it happen,
Required,
yeah.
As far as staying in the loop, can't you request that through Upper Ark as a member of Upper Ark? I mean,
He can.
well, that's what I mean.
Yeah, we probably could. I'm just saying, as an opposer, we're probably not entitled to it. He may provide it, but,
And that's, yeah, I'm just saying.
yeah,
I think,
Without having to ask.
I can certainly
and
draft a letter.
I really believe, given the fact that we got after him, because the whole thing amounted to communications, they're sensitive to making sure everybody hears things now. I think you just bringing it up and asking them to keep us
Yeah.
in the loop will help. I'll ask Kendall too.
Yeah. My understanding is all the pro se opposers are going to get dropped. Yeah, Meredith just sent out this latest order. Let me look at that real quick before we adjourn. So the other thing I had before we adjourn too was the format of our next several meetings. I'd like to have that discussion today and make a decision about how we're going to move forward. My opinion is there's no need for staff reports, number one. Go ahead, sir.
This worked today to some extent. What we didn't have was opportunity for public to open their mouth. I understand that he mentioned this morning one of the press wanted to be part of this, and we didn't allow them to come in. I think.
Not true. That is not a correct statement, sir.
Well then,
She was allowed to come in. She was asked
He
to
means
stay
not
in
in this room.
to stay in the, oh, I thought you meant the courthouse.
no.
Oh, okay.
Stay in the hallway as opposed to coming into this room.
Correct,
with
yes, sorry.
And if I do say something wrong, you
That's all right. I just thought you meant
tell
not
me.
allowed to come in the courthouse,
allowed
but,
to come into this room.
right.
I think our computers have the capability, they all have cameras on them. Let me tell you what Westcliff is doing, and I'm not doing that for any reason other than I like their plan. They're using a company called freeconferencecall.com. We could use Zoom. I don't really care. I have no vested interest. But let me
We
just-
already have.
Okay. We could publish the phone number of how to call in and be part of the meeting, and they can write in comments if someone has something to say, and that way we're engaging the public if they choose to be part of this. Obviously, until such time, and it may be a long time, we don't know, we're not going to fill this room with people. We're just not going to do it. It's not prudent, it's wrong. But I still don't want to conduct business behind closed doors. So having an open, Zoom, for example, can allow up to 1,000 people in one meeting. If you don't buy the subscription, it's a 40-minute time frame on meetings. But if you buy it, it's not
That'd be great.
ridiculously expensive. Okay, yeah, I'll get us out real quick. I agree with you, Bill.
Can I dovetail to that statement real
Please do.
quick? Zoom, if you buy it, is a private platform. If you do not buy it, it is a public platform. Other people could access your meeting.
And that's what we want.
Maybe.
I mean,
They might
that's
access
my
it to hack
purpose.
it.
My purpose is to allow the public to be able to not only view, I mean, I know they're viewing today, but I got several from different people, not just one. One asked me to speak up, and I appreciate that. One was, why don't you ask the person to call in so we can have their input? Another one was a person who had other input that they would like to have. And I appreciate that we're all under constraints. But if we do enter in, if we do hire a company or buy the whatever, the app, I guess it's called. However, we can have public input into our meetings. And I really feel bad that, I feel we're raw, if there's an opportunity, we ought to be able to let the public in.
Okay, the county already has free conference. I asked Vernon.
Okay,
So we
great.
could do that now, and they can live stream and hear us. They could we listen over a live conference or text us back, and that kind of thing can happen. All we need to do is decide to do it.
Okay, I wasn't aware we had the capability. That's even better.
So that's my only concern with Zoom is somebody could access it and disrupt it, hack it. I don't know what all could happen. I'm just saying it's not a private secured thing unless you subscribe to Zoom.
So,
I don't know
matter of fact, I don't know. The audio might be better on free conference out there, and they can look at the picture of us talking.
You were just involved in a meeting
I
using
have-
freeconferencecall.com.
I did that yesterday with the town of West Cliff. It was excellent. It had one person's large picture and then everybody who was in the meeting on the side. As you spoke, it automatically switched to whoever was
That's
speaking.
exactly right.
It also was recorded, which I thought was interesting. I suspect you have to send them money to get the recording. I don't know. I didn't look at it.
Oh, that's good.
But
Ask Murray.
the only downfall I saw was it was easy to talk over people, so we asked Mayor Winky,
you have to-
please acknowledge hand raising as opposed to,
Right.
You have to be more
It-
deliberate.
yeah.
Right.
So,
Well, I would move that we instruct. Oh, that's, well,
You could, I mean, this is just, it doesn't require a motion.
This doesn't require a motion. We can just do it.
Establishing a procedure. So
Okay.
if you agree.
to use freeconferencecall.com.
Sure. We already, it's a county communications
let's-
capability we have.
before we pick the entity, why don't we just turn it over to Vern and say, Vern, this is how we'd like our next meeting. Set it up with whatever you think's appropriate. Would you be okay with that? I mean, I trust him. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
know.
assuming that's what he's gonna use,
gonna
because we
use-
already have it.
he'll
but
use it,
That's
yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if he comes back and says, look, ours wasn't what I really hoped it would be, and this one's better, I'm going to say thank you. That's
I
all
think
I'm
it's
going to
fine.
say. I mean, I'm not going to worry about a couple $100 if that's what it costs to set it up. I don't know. I just feel if there's a capability of getting the public involved, I want them involved.
I have a
Even
question.
if it's to yell at us.
Me
I have a
too.
question for Kelly, if I may. Given the circumstances, my belief is we do not need staff reports. Is there a reason to have a Tuesday, Wednesday meeting next week? Because normally, in my opinion, that's the only reason we do 2 days to get all the staff reports in.
Well, there may be a reason in that we've deferred some things, like the alleviate the fees at the landfill issue, for example. There are some things it doesn't have to be Tuesday, Thursday, it could be at the end of the next week or something.
And you're just wondering
My
about
question is, do we need
making
2
it
days worth of
one
meetings?
meeting
Right.
instead of, yeah, and I don't see why
Yeah.
you couldn't. I mean, you would just put everything that
Sure.
was gonna be in that 2 days in one day.
Just put
I mean,
everything on
yeah.
one agenda.
Right, and we want guys to stay home anyway, right? They don't need to come in here.
So, that's my preference, is to have one meeting next week.
I have no issue with it whatsoever.
Yes, on the 7th, Tuesday the 7th.
Is there an agenda for the 8th already?
No.
And it's already published, that's easy then.
That probably would take a motion to do.
That's what I'm
change the
thinking, to
calendar,
cancel
So
it.
we probably need to put it on the agenda for the 7th to do away with the 8th meeting
Yeah.
procedurally. I would think that would be the smart way to do that.
I'm going to ask, now that
Okay by me.
Kara is up and running again at home, working at home, she actually is going to come into the office probably one day a week or something. She's getting overwhelmed by not being here, I know that. So I had a conversation with her about that. If she comes in, does her work and leaves, I consider her essential personnel to this office. She's not going to socialize and all that, but so I would ask her, and I'll talk to her on the phone about developing the agenda and the board packet, If you have something that you want on that agenda, then either convey that to her or to me. Bill, you've mentioned this landfill thing a couple times. We have not had a discussion about that. Do you want that on the agenda?
Yeah, I thought we put it on already, but maybe not.
No, we have
Let's
not.
put it on there
For
then.
the
So you're talking about,
Fees, waiving the fees at the landfill, the options. I've got Rusty and Brian looking at that.
and then we're going to put on the agenda on the 7th to cancel the 8th, right?
correct.
Okay. We'll have to do that right away at the beginning of the meeting or we'll miss the 24-hour.
So what is on that agenda? We got Bogle.
Nothing.
Bogle coming in.
No. There's nothing on that agenda. If we want to invite him, then
On
we
the
need to
8th.
put that on there.
Yeah. What did we decide to do? We're going to get this done.
Well, I was gonna have the cleaned up version for you by the
Okay.
meeting on the 7th.
Then we can deal with it on the 15th
Yeah.
with EDC.
Yeah, let's do that. That's better.
Go ahead, sir.
Because of the trying times, not because I don't care a whole lot about Wetmore, could we also put on the 7th that the 15th meeting be held here as opposed to Wetmore?
Yes, I would concur with that, Commissioner Kanda.
Yep.
Again, you're exactly right. Let's minimize what we need to do, so.
We have this worked out just fine the way it sits here. I'm very comfortable with this.
Well, I thought we were gonna
That is-
do this all remotely.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine with it.
remotely. We're
I
gonna
thought-
sit in here.
Oh, I thought we were doing all the meetings until further notice via whatever platform Vernon.
I thought it was
I
here.
thought we'd
Get
do
the
it
public
here
in there.
with the public
Oh.
being able to
That's
join us, but I'm,
Pretty good live stream it.
So we want to live stream it,
See you in
because
person.
there'll be people that might just get that. I think that's fine.
I mean, if that's what we decide, that's fine. I refuse to take any more heat from meeting in this room. I'll guarantee you from anybody. So let's decide.
It gives them still,
I'll
I
take
think
that
it's
as one
good.
piece.
I think it's okay because they can, just like Shannon did, he came in here, it still gives the opportunity to get a personal guy in here one at a time if they want to be here. But it also opens it up for everybody to listen to and interact remotely.
The interactions we're
Yeah.
not concerned about. So.
Well, I'll guarantee you, we're gonna pay a pound of flesh for Shannon walking in here. You can bet on that.
Can I make a comment on that
Go ahead.
too? When you commented about Charles coming in, just my opinion, but we're closed to the public. And so how can we let somebody come in to be a part of the meeting? Why couldn't they call in just like anybody else?
And then we just send them the documents for signature?
Right, because I think if you start
Picking and choosing.
letting people come in and letting people sit in the hallway, you're gonna,
Right.
I think you're opening a can of worms there.
So for landfill, you wouldn't actually have Brian and Rusty here, they participate by.
Yeah, they can give us the options over the phone.
Right on the, if we have the program we used yesterday, they could just speak up. We'll all
You
hear
have
it.
it on the documents on that.
Their little face comes up and we talk to them.
Yeah, I think we have to decide, are we gonna allow people in or not? That's number one.
I thought that was already decided, and the answer was no. We're not going to allow people in except for essential individuals, and we have those already defined.
Press included.
So
The press included, not welcome. Not gonna let them in the building.
absolutely agree with that, but I still want them to have an opportunity to interact.
Okay?
But they don't have to. I mean, just
No, and
as far as
Or
I'm
you-
concerned, the press is a private
depends on how-
citizen
Yeah.
who has the right to question us and see what's going on and be part of this. I won't do anything behind closed doors, I will tell you that. And if we say, like today, you didn't have an opportunity to have input, I'm sorry. I mean, that's just the way it is. You said it exactly correct, Chairman, when you said it's a luxury to allow these people to speak. We do not have to allow one speck of information to come from the public. However, That's not appropriate in my opinion. Just because we have that right is not the,
Right.
it is not the right way to go.
And I think as a board, we've set the precedent that we believe in that, right? I mean, we, look how many opportunities for public comment.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So,
we have
but
precedents.
that being said, these are not normal times either, so,
And that's why we need to adapt
exactly.
to try and do the best we can.
Now,
So
what you
that's
can
why I'm
do,
advocating one
we're,
of these
we're
companies.
talking about what we can do to adapt. The President of the United States, the governor of this state have adapted, and they allow the press at 6 feet away to sit in. And we could do that even here or in that corner and get both presses in here if we wanted to. If you wanted to go the extra mile and prove that we care, we can do it that way too.
I wish we had a bigger room.
I do too.
That's all
Right.
I could tell you.
Well-
And
Telling you
then
what-
we would
with-
have
with
room
what
to
we've got
space
right
people
now.
out.
We had a new justice center,
We
we'd
could
probably
make that
have room.
happen. Yeah.
That right there is our effort to reach out to the community, and that's the live stream. That's why we're doing it.
And I concur completely. It's wonderful. I love this idea. But I'd also like to have, I don't want to do away with public comment unless it's necessary. And I feel there's a methodology to allow public comment to come in.
I won't disagree.
I think that we need to do that. I mean,
So,
I
By
it's just like the
consensus.
President of the United States. He asks
Sure.
people to ask questions, and they do. They call in.
so by consensus, can we ask Vern to come up with whatever he feels is best
we
for
already
us to accomplish what we're trying to do?
Yeah, I think so. That's fine. So the intent here is that the 5 of us will meet again in here on the 7th.
I would think so. We are, unless the orders come down differently from the state or from the federal government, I will adhere to laws always. So unless that changes, I would say let's plan on doing what we did today. I feel very comfortable,
Right.
except for one transgression potentially, that we have handled this appropriately.
Right. And I'll be honest with you, I couldn't see, I had no idea who was in the hallway. I had no clue what Sheriff Byerly was after, because I couldn't see around the corner.
And
As soon as he indicated who was there, I understood, but until then, I
that
didn't know what
really
that was about.
fun. Yesterday, we started giving out the vouchers for the grocery store. We gave out over $10,000 worth of food vouchers yesterday. I also met with John Carroll yesterday to talk about, he's got a lot of food that he's willing to give to the public. The reason I'm saying this is really for the public, not for you, so that they know that these things are available. If you got laid off and there's going to be a time frame between you can get unemployment or whatever, there is mechanisms in this county from very generous people who are willing to help you. So, and I'm not selling
Right.
anything, I'm just saying that. But the sheriff was there. We didn't know how many people would show up right at the opening, so he was maintaining order. And we talked about his new undersheriff, and I said, I think it'd be wonderful if you can introduce him. So I'll take the heat for inviting him here today. I probably should not have done that.
The social distancing is the only issue with
I
me.
understand.
That's it. I
I
was glad to
understand.
meet him. I had not, because obviously been in the quarantine. The other thing I want to just put on the record is by the governor's order and his exclusions, county governments can function. We have every right within his orders to gather as we are today.
That's right.
We're exempt from his stay-at-home policy. I think we willingly adhere to the 6-foot distancing portion, but legally, I think we're exempt from that if we had to. So,
Hey,
that's
got a
my
quick
opinion.
one. How are we going to get the phone number for FreeCon out there?
Well, and
So
that's a
everybody
great-
can
that's a
dial
great
in.
Website
question. It would
and-
have to
Well,
be on the
website
website
and-
the
And
press is willing
Facebook
to-
pages. We have 2 Facebook pages,
Yeah.
so.
We can get in the newspaper still.
So
Ask Vern to do that.
making our best effort in very difficult times, and if some people are not,
Well, it'll evolve.
are still going to be upset with the way we're handling things, we've made our best effort, and that's all we can ever do.
Mr. Candy, would you be responsible for visiting with Vern about getting that number published in the newspapers?
I will.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I will coordinate with Kara. We will come up with the agenda. Again, if you want something on there other than what we've talked about, let me know. I, again, will probably not invite her to come to the meeting. I think this arrangement works good. We add one more person in here, we're kind of in trouble.
Kind of squished.
And I think she's okay with that. She just wanted to listen today because she's feeling like she's
Absolutely agree.
out of the loop, being quarantined as we were for 2 weeks. So I appreciate her concern about that. And then Vernon has done a good job of posting on the doors of the courthouse. There's no reason to post it on the board, bulletin board, because nobody can read it. So I've asked him to post it on the doors and on the website. I think that's enough. Clint, I appreciate your work on that Colorado open meetings law information you sent out. That was informative, some stuff I didn't know. And I think Sword Out sent out some information about that too. I know it's just me. You guys cannot be getting near the amount of emails that I'm getting, right? Gosh. I'm guessing 25 a day, and most probably 18 or 20 of those are repetitive, same information from a different source, you know, but.
Just since we walked in this morning, there's 27 in my mailbox waiting for me.
Yeah, crazy. So, anything else, gentlemen? Do you want to talk to Vernon about the platform, or do you want me to just call him and have?
No, I'll
ask him
talk to
do
him
that?
about the whole thing.
Okay.
I'm sure he'll use the free
Okay.
conference. I asked
Yeah.
him what we had. So.
Right. Okay. Anything else come before the board? I'm scanning my emails real quick to see.
I'm just wondering how the election stuff's going to go.
Locally,
Different
or?
orders. Yeah, well, state, county.
Yeah, I hadn't, well, the county's been decided. At least the Republicans have. I haven't heard anything about the Democrats. I don't know what they're doing.
What they're doing.
Are you talking caucus or election?
Both.
Yeah.
County assembly's yet to be done, and they're going to do a drive-by, fly-by. I don't know how that's going to work.
Yeah, I think Sharon's got that
Yeah, I think that.
handled, and
Mhm.
I don't know what the Democrats are
elections
doing.
are
Haven't
going
heard.
on.
And then the election, I think they ought to. There's talk about them postponing that into June, I think, but I don't know if that's going to happen.
The election is in June.
I mean, not June. Later. What's the latest it can? Not the election, but the primary.
That is the
That's the
primary.
primary, right?
And
State
we've,
Assembly,
if you're hearing discussion on extending it, I'm not hearing that. And we've met every day this week, this last week, so.
And the state hasn't talked about doing it.
No, we're moving forward as usual.
And
We're
are they
just,
still going to do a virtual state election? Meaning, we're going to pay the money and not go? And
oh, you're talking, see,
I'm
we're
talking
talking two
assembly.
different
Yeah.
things.
The county's different. Primary, state assembly is, they're talking about doing it remotely, aren't they?
Yeah, and I don't know on that because that's a party deal. I don't have anything to do with
That's true.
assembly.
Yeah, that's right. Instead of going there, the delegates are going to pay the same money and do it at home. I don't know how that's going to
I think
happen.
so.
Crazy.
Anything else come before the,
I move we adjourn.
been moved and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, nay. Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned. So,
Got your name.
Kelly, did you mute? Okay. So we need to be cautious because it's probably still live streaming. Let me call Vernon. I'd like to talk to both of you before you leave, if that's